في أكبر الكتب.
Congratulations, you have found the Lambcast, the official podcast of the large association of movie blogs, also known as the Lamb. The Lamb is the largest collective of online movie blogs and podcasts with 2,000 members and counting. Every week on the Lambcast, various members of the Lamb community get together to talk about our favorite subject, movies. So bookmark the Lamb and follow us on social media. Be sure to join us each week to hear a lively discussion of films and movie-related talk from our members. Join the flock at largeassmovieblogs.com.
Welcome aboard Volé Airline Flight 180 to Paris, France. Please secure your tray table and be sure your seat is in the upright position. We anticipate some turbulence on this episode of the Lambcast, and although we're in episode 768, there's plenty that can go wrong, even with an experienced crew. I'm your cabin attendant, Richard Kirkham. There is a meal service available at an extra charge, but because it's a long flight to Paris, we have 5 movies to watch to get you to your final destination. After all, everyone wants to spend April in Paris. Although our destination is Paris, that may not be where we end up. Our final destinations will be determined by the premonitions of our passengers today. Flying in first class is Aaron Newworth. As a 3-time winner of the Lamb movie draft, he was upgraded from his coach seat. We have a nice window seat for you, Aaron.
Yeah, I'm sitting here next to some frayed wires and wet metal cutlery. Is that okay?
It's all that we won't charge you extra for the wet metal cutlery.
Okay.
In business class, we have Matthew Simpson, who's made it his business to be on just about every Movie of the Month episode for the last 2 years. If there's a sudden depressurization in the cabin, he knows where the life vests are in case of a water landing or a puddle in the lavatory.
If there's a sudden depressurization, that's probably because the wall beside my seat's going to blow out and I'll be sucked out into the air.
Speaking of which, Jay Cluett is seated in the middle seat in economy, but he does agree to assist you in an emergency as his aisle is the emergency exit. Watch the door closely, Mr. Cluett. We have experienced a little trouble with the latch.
On the Lambcast, there are no accidents, no coincidences, no mishaps, and I'm back, so no escapes.
No escapes for sure. Today, your captain is Lisa Leaheey. She's had 4 years of experience with this flight, although this is the first time she'll get to the runway.
The first time I get to the runway, we may even take off, but I can't say anything for the landing.
Well, April is Franchise Movie of the Month time on the Lambcast, and the final destination is an American horror franchise that includes, soon, 6 films. All of its films are set around the premise of a small group of people who escape impending death after one individual has a sudden premonition and warns them about a major disaster that is about to occur. After avoiding their foretold deaths, as seen in the visions, the survivors are later killed one by one in a bizarre accident caused by unseen force, created a chain of cause and effect events, resulting in a Rube Goldberg-like death, and then they start reading omens in order to gain control over their deaths. Lisa, as champion of the franchise of this month's poll, she's hosting the show. Lisa, you're cleared for takeoff.
You know, I gotta say, for a while, I was basically Shawshanking this franchise. You know, like, you can't ignore me forever. I'm just gonna keep writing my letters and hopefully I'll get through. So I'm super excited and very thankful, and also a little scared now because now I don't know what the heck I'm gonna submit for next year. It was kind of cool to be like, hey, I'm just gonna submit Final Destination because, you know, it doesn't win. Now here we are.
Puppet Master.
But yeah, yes, I'm excited to be here. So thank you guys for joining me. I assume that we're all, I don't know about Richard. Richard, is this the first time coming to these films?
Last year, when it didn't win, I decided I would watch them all. And I did, because I had said, maybe it's never going to win. I'm not going to wait forever. So, and then I watched them all again this week. So it's my second time through.
Fair enough. And I know, Jay, you're a big fan. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yes, I am. Sorry. I think, Richard, you and I have had a conversation about we were planning on a David R. Ellis director marathon at some point.
Yes, we should have a tribute episode. Yes, 2 and 4.
Yeah, because he's
Good.
also. I mean,
Snakes on a
he did
Plane,
Snakes on a Plane,
Shark Night.
Shark Night, and of course his
Tell
greatest
you.
achievement. He is the second AD on Deep Blue Sea.
There you
Oh,
go.
So,
see, this is it. And then
so yeah,
Aaron, you were
I
an
love these
existing
films. I
fan,
love these
right?
films.
Yes, I am an existing fan, and I look forward to talking about this franchise. In fact, I'm a little biased because we were able to have Jeffrey Reddick, the creator of the
Oh,
franchise,
nice.
on our show a few years ago to talk about the entire series, even the ones that he wasn't involved with at that point. So I it feels like I have a special connection to death
I
when it comes
love
to
that.
this franchise. Yeah.
That
Richard,
is
we're going to
cool.
link that episode, right?
If I can find it, we will
Oh, yeah,
definitely
I
do
can
it.
send you a link
And I'm
right now.
sure that Aaron will send me a link.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And Matthew, is this your first time with the Final Destination?
Half and half. I
Okay.
am a longtime fan of one and two, and I had never actually seen three or four or five until this week.
Oh
Oh,
man.
interesting. I like that we've got this wonderful mix. This is going to be a good discussion, I think. So, soon to be 6 movies. Well, I've got 6 pages of notes. So, is that Death's design or is that just a coincidence? So I can say that I don't remember seeing the first one in the theater. I don't remember specifically when it was I came to it. I probably did, but I don't know for certain. But I know I've seen 2, 3, 4, and 5 in the theater. Um, and I've loved talking about these films for ages because the first 2 came out before James Wan and Lee Whannell's Saw. And I remember saying to people, it's like, okay, you guys are so worried about the Saw films, but have you seen Final Destination? Because those writers definitely need to be locked up. Because of the crazy ways they dispatched with these characters. And it has just been such a ride. I'd like to, I mean, obviously you start with the first one, but I'd like to get your opinions on this, guys. My standing with these films is that this is a franchise where it didn't figure itself out until the second film. Similar to The Purge, I don't think the first film in this franchise is really worth your time unless you're a completionist and you want to see where everything began. I remember being very angry at the first film because I didn't like that death pulls its punch with its very first kill. We have the bathroom scene where Todd is there, and they do play the games like he has those scissors that he's going at his nose hairs with, and Death has decided that it's going to trickle out a little bit of water on the tile floor, and Todd's barefoot, and he ends up accidentally hanging, being strangled by the clothesline in the shower. And I was fine with all of it until Death retracted the water. And I got angry and I was like, look, if you're Death, if you're supposed to be this, I'm coming back to do what you think you've dodged, then own it. What did you guys think?
Well, that never bothered me. I just thought it was a tool so that they could make it seem more like it was a hanging rather than an accident, and that allowed a little bit more suspicion and suspense about whether or not they would discover what was going on down the road. I think the franchise is full of those kinds of cheats.
I also think that, like, although it's a bit cheesy and weird, Death was only trying to kill the one guy. He didn't want to leave water on the floor for anyone else.
That's a good point.
Plus, Death doesn't want to get arrested. That's a whole process. Then you're
Yeah,
like, court. He's got to hire a lawyer. I mean, there's a whole deal there. I mean, as far as like the kill go, like it doesn't. I wouldn't say necessarily bothered me. If you want to like match it to the franchise itself and how it conducts itself, sure, it's a different sort of step compared to where the franchise goes, and that's growing pains, right? That's like just figuring out like what it is that you're trying to do.
Hmm.
Which, if you want to argue too, is kind of more of the template of what it is. I don't disagree with you. That's like any number of franchise, like Lethal Weapon 2 is more of what the rest of Lethal Weapon is like compared to the first one, which is more serious. This
Hmm.
film, the first one, is yes, decidedly a more serious film, which is honestly why I like it more than most of this franchise, because I do appreciate that it takes things fairly seriously, yet still has these elaborate concoctions. I like the balance of this one. We'll talk about the other ones, but I have not necessarily issues, but like I'm not as enamored with the sort of fun that comes with some of these compared to what I think the first one accomplishes.
All right, Jay, what about you?
I'm trying. Lisa and I have had a conversation on a podcast that's coming out in a couple of weeks on the franchise as a whole as well. So I'm going to try and not reiterate too much conversations she and I have already had about these films.
I think some of that's going to be inevitable.
That's fine. So I don't hate the water receding. I'm trying not to do Morgan Freeman. But it
Please do Morgan Freeman.
No,
just
I will
for
not.
the rest
I'm
of
not.
the.
I'm not.
You put
This
on
is
you put
my
on
Mor-
you put on the makeup against my wishes, but
Dave, this is my Morgan Freeman. I'm going to turn my camera off right now. I
Jesus.
my pitch my pitch. Sorry, I'm turning into Ted Danson. My my pitch on that upcoming podcast is Death has a bunch of interns that are doing all this cleanup, and the water receding. The intern got it wrong, and Death kind of told him off and said, "Watch what we're doing. Don't do that anymore." And any like big elaborate death that gets ended like simply is an intern that's got ahead of themselves, set all of these elements up, and then Death's come along saying, "Stop wasting my time. Just hit her with a bus."
Yeah.
It's so much. It can be so much easier than what you're doing. And that's my theory for this franchise. The water receding, I never really clicked like, wait, that doesn't happen in any other ones. And Lisa, you've ruined it for me.
I'm sorry.
Because
That's kind of what I do sometimes. It's my job
Yeah.
as an educator to ruin things for my students.
It's fine. Is it your job as an educator to tell students that they creep you out? Because that's my favorite. Stay
You
away
know,
from me,
I
you freak me
actually,
out.
it's funny that you say that and you make that joke. Rewatching the first one again yesterday in preparation for today, I saw that scene and I went, wow, would I say that to a student? And it's
Have
like
you?
weird. Yeah, I know. Well, it's this kind of no, I have not said it to a student. I'm kind of the patron saint for the fringe kids. The fringe kids find me. And I don't know why. I think it's because I'm just an adult who's like, look, this is how I am. I've got silly Ghostbusters paraphernalia in my classroom. I've got, all sorts of ridiculous stuffed animals and little statues. And, at the same time, I've got literature on the walls. I mean, horror film posters. I've got all kinds of chaos going in my classroom. So I think I have a neon light
I was
outside
just
my
going to say,
classroom.
there's a big magnet outside of your classroom that is sucking in all of the deviant people in your
It kind of
school.
is. Well, I have a
understand
neon
that.
light that says "Welcome, foolish mortals" outside my classroom. So at this point, but anyway, I actually thought about that moment and being an educator, and I did go back and forth on that because she says, don't talk to me, don't come near me, you scare the hell out of me. But at the same time, he's scared too. And it's like I thought about how isolated he becomes in those moments, how Nick, even his best friend, Todd, his father won't let Todd near him because he just lost one of his sons to this terrible tragedy. And frankly, everybody's reactions makes perfect sense. Of course, you don't want your surviving son near the kid who was I don't know how you say this. You don't say involved in, but basically predicted the death of your other son. And then the teacher who's like, the fact that you even did this, and I don't know, the survivor's guilt is rampant. Billy Hitchcock coming up to him and saying, if I ask this girl out, will she say yeah? Like Sean William Scott that character could not be more perfectly cast. I just feel like he's so good in that role. And I know that, you read the trivia and it talks about how Billy Hitchcock was supposed to be more of a picked on, bullied kind of pudgier kind of kid. And then Sean William Scott comes in auditions and he's just perfect. So it's like, yep, we're gonna go with this. But I don't know. Go ahead.
It's funny because he feels like he's so against type in a movie like this, where he's not Stifler.
He's usually the bully.
Which is the only other role he has at this point. It's 2000. He's only done a couple things. So it's like watching him here, it makes exact sense that he feels more like Jerry O'Connell out of Stand By Me, even though that's like not the role that, or at least not the kind of visual image that you're getting from a Sean William Scott. Yet he still plays, yes, this kind of like try hard, nerdy kid, sort of, even though he looks like Sean William Scott. He's like an attractive young guy. Like it's different.
And it's odd because like Craig Perry, one of the producers, he produced American Pie, so it kind of feels like this role was almost made for Sean William Scott.
I love him just going on his bike. Like he's just riding by on his bike all the time, and like Carter going at him with the car, and it's just this whole entertaining kind of setup for this character that I just think is so amazing. But But yeah, anyway, I mean, while we're talking about this for a quick second, of course, the film nerds here in the room, we have to throw the nod to the fact that all of them, or most of them, have these nods in character name to these
Yes.
legends in horror. I mean, you've got Billy Hitchcock, who is probably the biggest neon light of them all. You have the teacher who literally is named Val Lewton.
Uh-huh.
Her name is Valerie. And I was like, okay, we didn't even think about that when we just made that one easy. You've got Alex Browning,
Yeah.
named for Todd Browning. You've got Agent Shrek for Max Shrek, and then you've got Agent Siegel for Don Siegel. Terry Chaney for the amazing Lon Chaney. Todd Wagner for George Wagner. Who am I forgetting?
There's a Murnau in there.
Oh, yes, the French teacher. I loved him. I'm learning French right now, and so I'm listening to him and going, "Oh, I know what he's saying." And it's like, "Oh God, I'd be that dorky French teacher with them." And then I think that's all of them.
Yeah,
There's
I've
probably
always
more,
been
but
been thrown by like Clear Rivers. There's no like direct with the Sun
Nothing.
and Rivers, which to me is like, did they just want to pick the strangest name in the world of Clear Rivers to give to a character, and why?
Maybe
Well,
it's-
apparently she's named after
a-
somebody's assistant.
But that's
That
such a
first
weird
name,
name.
Clear.
Well,
I agree.
but I'd argue her character, because she's kind of so mousy and on her own, she probably has, like parents that are either like hippie-ish or kind of also
True.
similar, and so they're like, yeah, this is our fun like name for our daughter that fits our vibe, kind of a thing.
And
Yeah,
our
I was
last
going to
name.
say, as someone who grew up in the Pacific Northwest,
Yeah.
around the same time as these characters, that is a perfectly normal name.
Fair enough. She's an intense art girl.
Yeah.
exactly.
Yes, there you go.
In just this movie. Sorry.
Sure.
Yeah.
Nothing else.
'Cause
That's
she
so
changed-
true.
She's entirely not this character in the second movie.
Not even a little bit. I agree
She's
with
like,
you.
I'm Allie Larder. I have blonde hair with curls in them now. That's what I do.
What? She needs to look different from the main girl. She's have a different color hair from the
Oh,
lead of
that's the big
Finalization
issue
2.
I have with the second film. That there's a lot of white girls that look a lot alike in that movie.
Oh, that's a thing. I will tell you that as an educator, that's a thing. I've had trouble telling some of them apart. But anyway, yeah. So, I mean, we have this first film, we have the laying out of everything, we have the incredible, and I miss him so, Tony Todd, as, what do we call him? The mortician?
Yeah,
The
coroner.
blood worth?
Mortician,
He's
the coroner,
He's
There we go.
Bloodworth. That's
The
And
Grim
he's-
Reaper.
Death's
Uh,
doppelganger.
You can just call him Tony Todd and everyone would get it.
Candyman.
Exactly. And it's just, well, that's what's amazing too, right? Because he's almost, he's almost a decade away from Candyman. And I have that right, don't I? Candyman's what, 93?
92.
Yeah,
92. Okay, so yeah, he's
there.
almost a decade from Candyman, but he comes in and his voice is so perfect. I don't know, Aaron, did you get this from Riddick? Did he have this character in mind? Did he have Tony Todd in mind writing this character?
I can't recall what I should have listened to that episode just to hear back.
That's
on
all
it.
right.
I think it's more. I think there was an idea of we need to fill this role of someone, someone respectable from horror. It'd be cool if we had someone like a Tony Todd, and they actually got Tony Todd.
Yeah. I mean, his voice is that perfect funeral director kind of voice where he's got that hushed voice, that deep voice. It's almost calming no matter what he's saying, even though he's throwing weird insults and jabs at you. Just like, oh, I've been waiting for you. Oh, it's my new friend. And bleh. But giving us the whole layout of here's Death's design. And, of course, we go through the whole thing.
Wouldn't it be fun if it was just like Tony,
Very
like
quick
it was just actually was Tony Todd? Like
Yeah,
they,
they just filmed
like they
him.
get to the words where it's like, wait, aren't you like that guy from Yeah, Tony Todd. This is my side job. Can't get roles
Actually,
all the time.
actually have a very quick question for you, Lisa, as just based on everything you've said about your classroom and the way you teach and the way you connect with your students. I just want to know if you've ever had to tell anyone that they don't want to fuck with that Mac Daddy.
I need to put that in there because I just got a horror elective added this year, and at some point that needs to go in there. I think that needs to be like a bumper sticker. I think hanging on my wall.
Yeah, it's the
You
best
don't
line in
wanna
the
fuck with
movie.
It's
I
so.
don't know
good.
why it's so good.
Because no one
That's a
else
multiple
talks like
choice
that.
question on the midterm.
Yes, exactly. That's a bonus question.
Which Mac Daddy do you not want to fuck with?
Do you not fuck with? Yeah. Well, the problem is in my class they get nothing but crazy, like twist endings and demented dark characters and stuff. So they would look at me and go, "Well, the answers are all right. How am I supposed to do this?" Yeah, I'm doing a unit right now called People Are Scary. So yeah, that would basically be everyone. Um, Okay, so yeah, so we have Alex Browning going through dealing with this chaos. Um, Clearly comes from like a good family. His parents are there supportive of him, but at the same time, like he's figuring things out with Clear, he's just as isolated as she is. You know, she lives off in this house. You get the impression that she's there by herself. She tells a story about how like her parents really aren't there for her either, and so I have no idea what's happening there. But
They're
at the
going to
same
fish
time,
concerts around the country.
exactly. That's exactly what they're
That's
doing.
it.
You've got these two FBI agents on his tail all the time. And it's interesting that at no time, I mean, I guess they do take him in when Val Lewton calls him in, and they realize they can't hold him. Is there anything these guys can do to actually stop any of this, or are they just an extra added element of tension?
What they could do is believe Alex to some degree, at least thinking, okay, he's not involved in this because he's a child. Maybe we should stop suspecting him of elaborately murdering people and just like be on his side.
Yeah,
We
wouldn't
just
that
hang
be
out
I mean,
nice?
I feel like their reaction is kind of correct though, because he's always there. He's
Hmm.
at for every crime scene. He's always kind of there. I'm not blaming him at all, but it is, the FBI should be involved if somebody says this plane's gonna crash and then it crashes. There should be
Yeah.
some kind of investigation. Uh, I mean, it could be pretty easily proven that he didn't do the plane
That's if
crash.
they believe him
Yes.
from the start. That's what I was saying. Like if
Yeah.
they take his side from the get-go and just kind of hang with him, just be his entourage for a little bit. Maybe we can see where things go.
I mean,
And
frankly, I mean, Alex makes a terrible decision when he picks up the knife
the
at Miss
knife
Luton. I'm
Yeah,
like, child,
out
come
of
on.
Miss Luton.
bad.
Um, but yeah, I mean, for the most part, they're just constantly always there and just, it's that same old trope of, the inept police officers trying to catch him, and they're always just a couple of steps too far behind. Um,
Well,
And the
let's
robots,
face it, they
great
have a
casting for
mystery.
that as well.
They have a mystery that they don't have an answer to, and so they're grasping at straws. And the
mhm.
one straw that's sitting right in front of them is Alex. So they're going to work that bone like a dog, trying to dig it and dig it and dig it, hoping something will show up because what else have they got?
Yeah, no, you're
I
not
mean,
wrong.
on the other hand,
The clear sub theme of Final Destination, the ineptness of the FBI.
Yes, I mean, really.
Every film.
And we get
also
that
though,
20 years early.
you say that, but Clear is also there every time as well, and they never suspect her.
Exactly. Exactly. And she's the real fringe kid, right? Like she's the one off in the cabin on the side making weird welding sculptures and things
Uh-huh.
like that, but
She's
you
very
know,
I
pretty
do.
though, so
Yeah.
not with
I,
those
I do.
bangs.
I love Alex's reaction to when she's like, "This is a sculpture of how you make me feel," and his like puzzled, kind of confounded. What do I do here?
I got
Like Devon
yeah.
Sawa plays that well.
hold on. I have
His
other things going
perfectly
on right now.
authentic 17-year-old reaction to
Yeah,
that news. Yeah, that's
Oh
it was
yeah.
a pretty
absolutely.
perfect moment.
She comes on way too strong.
Sure.
Way. I felt what you felt. I know because I can still feel you. Like what? No.
Yeah,
Get away.
she's very intense.
Again, nothing like the next character.
No, not at all. See,
Like,
it's what happens.
and in the second one, she's in a mental asylum, but she seems more confident than ever.
Yes. She's got her Charlie Day wall on the
Yeah.
side there. Oh gosh. So
She's
this is
also, I mean, we're gonna get there, but in the second one, she's also checked in voluntarily.
Yeah, that's
yes.
the other thing. Yeah.
That part
She's too
makes
cool for
sense.
school. That's what it is.
I would argue
Yeah.
still intense in the second one.
She's
Yes.
intense,
in
but
a
she's,
different direction.
but like her, just like her basic complexion's like, well, yeah, obviously I'm into this, but also I did my makeup this morning. Like that's like her deal.
It's true. Yep, I've got my highlights and I got rid of those bangs, so we're able to take her more seriously.
Can we talk about my favorite character in this
Please.
besides Tony Todd, of course? Keir Smith as Carter Horton.
Yeah.
Oh my God, what a
Okay.
son of a bitch, isn't he?
Like it's such a
Am I
especially
gonna die?
like these movies in particular like set up the worst characters well because they're going to die, but in the meantime you get to be entertained by how much of an asshole they are. And Kerr Smith does it he does it well here, and he does like basically the same kind of thing in what My Bloody Valentine 3D, where he just plays like the worst person and you hate this guy so much. But yeah, this movie, every like bully step he takes is so much fun to like watch because he's so intense. Even like just seeing Alex and Clear sitting at a restaurant is like, I don't know about this. He swerves his car around in the street just to like make an argument out of nothing. Like
Yeah,
it's just
almost
really
taking
fun to
out
watch
Billy.
him. Yes, exactly. Almost
Yeah.
killing Billy. Oh my God.
Yeah, absolutely spectacular. It's like, and even, Terry can barely keep him in line. She's like,
Yeah.
stop this, stop that. He doesn't care. He's just like angry, always angry.
Yeah, you
It's
kind of feel
tough
like,
being a
like
teenager.
her reactions to his actions is like this is just who Carter is. He does this all the time. There's no control. He survives for way longer than you think he will.
Yeah.
And it's like just the fact that he's there until like the last few minutes.
I mean,
is
he's got great music
bonkers.
taste, though. I do have to give him his music taste. He's got Nine Inch Nails playing, and I mean, like I'm happy in the 2000s to see, Nine Inch Nails still make it into a song, and it's not, who knows what, crazy viral, who knows what. But I mean, not to mention that Nine Inch Nails song is about as perfect as it can get for this song. Like that the excerpt that they do, right? I mean, obviously you have the title, right? Pictures in my head of the final destination. Okay, fine. But the lines that follow, right? All lined up, all the ones that aren't allowed to stay, try to save myself, but myself keeps slipping away. I mean, it's perfect. It's more than just, hey, here's a song with the title in it. It's like, oh, we're all screwed. And here's a great song to go with it.
It's sort of perfectly on the nose in that way that music in films in 2002 was.
Hmm.
And you're right, it's a great song. So
I'm just a big fan. But anyway, all right. So let's move on to the next one. So this first one, directed by James Wong, written by Glenn Morgan and James Wong, and you have, like Aaron said, the story by Jeffrey Riddick. So in 2003, with Final Destination 2, we have a new set of people. Right? We've got David R. Ellis, we've got J. Mackie Gruber, and we've got Eric Bress. So we have a new feel. So where Aaron is saying he likes the seriousness of the first film, this second one is so for me, this is my favorite of the whole series because I think this is the one where they figured out what they need to do. And while some of it is still serious, they've just gone chaos with what we can do with these deaths. Starting with that, obviously probably the most iconic chaos scene, right? The prologue where everybody is killed in the premonition. Despite the fact that it's Flight 180 that got everything started, that log truck is the one that has completely made its way into the zeitgeist. Like everybody knows if you see a log truck, you do not get behind it.
yeah, I was going to say that as a person who, was coming up around the time these films are coming out, I cannot drive behind a logging truck.
Mm-hmm.
Like long-term, like generational trauma was generated by this film.
I won't drive.
Well, I think at one point the original thought was we're going to do for airplanes what Jaws did for the ocean. I don't know that they succeeded with air flight, but they certainly succeeded with driving on a highway in Oregon or Washington.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Or BC,
And I mean,
where it was filmed.
Before cell phones were a thing, right? Nobody's on their cell phones in this sequence because that wasn't as much a thing. Now, imagine you make a film like a scene like that now. Like everybody's dead because nobody saw the log truck to begin with.
I'll just note one thing that I'll blame the commentary for because it told it to me. Logs don't bounce like that.
No, they don't.
This is as a rubber log factory. That's where they're going. They're going to the rubber log factory.
Yeah, they don't. And I know this because I grew up in a place where logging happened. But also, they might. There's a chance. Like the chance is not zero. They might bounce.
I feel you. I have a pool. There's no reason a shark would be in my pool, but you know what? In that deep end, I don't know what's going on down there when I jump in initially. I gotta look.
It might.
It might. Like again, like there's not a huge chance, but it's not zero.
We've seen
Yeah, they just
Sharknado
won't do it
films.
on
Pools-
cue.
Sharks wind up in what random places.
We've seen Ghost Shark.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if we've all seen Ghost Shark, but if you haven't seen Ghost Shark,
No.
The opening sequence I think is the clear difference between the clear lesson learned in the Final Destination franchise is that yes, you have a great, impressive opening sequence. This gives you a chance to kill all the characters in great ways twice. The first film, the plane crash, you don't really see the individual deaths of all the characters involved. This time around, they all get great opening deaths, and then they get great secondary wrap-up deaths.
Hmm.
And that the films where they kind of embrace that are kind of the better ones, I think.
Yeah.
So
I
yeah,
agree.
that's what sticks with me. The log going through Burke, not just his head, just him, all of him just becoming mush. The Tim with the bottle getting stuck underneath the brake pedal.
Yes.
Any car I go in, I make sure there's nothing in the footwell behind the driver's side.
Yes.
Yeah.
Every car, without fail. That's like we have dogs. We regularly have tennis balls in the car. They never are in the footwell
Oh.
behind. That is the right shape and size. Yeah, they're bouncy, but it's not like the logs. But they're not gonna compress and no, not happening. And like the Eugene getting cut in half, with by the way, by Evan getting plowed through the burning. I love this film so much. This is my favorite as well.
I
It's got some of the best
This is
deaths, best opening, great characters. I wanted to have my Zoom account isn't working right now, but if it were, Rory being sliced by the fence would be my Zoom picture right now. I love that image.
Yeah. This one is my favorite as well. And as much as we've already talked about how iconic the log is, I think Jay has it right. Like the length and breadth of the opening scene in this one is incredible. And it goes on for like longer than you expect it to go on because everyone gets such an iconic death. It is easily my favorite in the franchise, and I would argue just the best in the franchise.
Yeah, all of the opening deaths are much more individualized in this one, which makes it so much easier for us to, I don't want to say salivate over them, but appreciate them, savor them, think about them. By the way, we are all bad people.
Awful. Oh, I
Is
know
this
that.
supposed to be news? What?
Yeah, I agree with
With
Jay. This
lambs.
is not news.
I also
Lambs
None
just
of
bring
my
like good people
students, if
on.
they're listening, are surprised right now. None of them.
I also just like with this one that, and I think the opening scene really speaks to it. Part of the reason this one's my favorite is sort of the opposite reason why the first one is Aaron's favorite, in that I think this one balances being something serious and being live action R-rated Looney Tunes the best of the whole franchise.
Hmm.
Um, and I think that bears out with all the subsequent kills as well. It strikes the balance the best. Like I think the first one leans a little bit too serious, and I think some of the rest of them lean a little bit too wacky, but this one gets it sort of just right.
to
And
to be
it's my
to be clear, the first one is not my favorite film. I think
Ooh.
there's another one that has the balance even better than this film. Now, I will say I didn't grow up with two. Like I haven't seen any of these in theaters except for the last one. But I didn't see two till much later than it actually came out. So I haven't had, and I'm not saying that it's purely nostalgia goggles or anything like that. I feel
Could
like
be
the movie
though.
like
That's
the
part
movie.
of it.
But like it's not one that I lean on because I just frankly I like there's another one I like more. But I agree
Don't tell us
entirely.
yet.
But I agree entirely with Jay as far as what you're all agreeing with, as far as the fact that this one does have a sort of death at the beginning where you see everybody die, and then as the film progresses, you get the double death action. I do think that is a key factor that makes this franchise work as well as it does once they've embraced that, where you have not only these elaborate deaths throughout the film, but the opening death sequences are very elaborate, and you get over and over again these ways of portraying every single person's death. So it maximizes the value of the franchise. I agree with that. It's not like I dislike two. I think two is my third favorite film in this franchise, but still, it's very it's not without lack of trying. They do a good job of setting up what the pat the the pattern for these movies, the template. There we go, the template for these.
Yeah. What I think is really cool about this, like, and then again, I was saying I had this revelation. Like, I'm an Ellis fan when it comes to these because you have James Wong directing two of them. You have Ellis, David R. Ellis directing two of them, and then you have a third director coming in for another film, and then there's actually a fourth coming in for Bloodlines, which we'll find out whether or not we like that in a month or so. But I'm with you guys. Like the chaos of this film, I think this really lent itself to the experience of seeing a horror film in the theater with a bunch of people. Because this is a film where everybody is reacting, everybody's laughing, everybody's jumping, which really then becomes what makes these films so popular, I think. I mean, I think those of us who are huge fans of this franchise watch these films not because we're scared of them, not because, we have a problem with gore, we like seeing people tortured or any of that stuff. They're just so fun. Time after time after time, these people are killed in these ridiculously surprising ways, these incredibly absurd ways, and yet we love the tension of that buildup. And as fantastic as the opening sequence is, I want to take a minute and talk about Evan's death, the lottery winner, and how brilliant a sequence this is if you want to think about building up suspense and tension.
It's like tantric sex.
Yeah.
You keep
Go
coming
on.
up to
Okay.
to the edge, up to the edge, up to the edge, and then you are unsatisfied, and then you come up to the edge again, up to the edge again, up to the edge again. No, not yet. And they do it like 4 times in this sequence.
It's incredible.
I'm gonna
Used
argue
for
that's-
edging, it turns out. Yeah.
I'm gonna argue that's the kind of thing why I'm not as big on this one. Where I think the other deaths in this movie, I don't want to say play fair, but like the edging aspect is less of a big deal. Where I think this one goes a little bit too far with it, where it's like,
Oh, so
I think there's more organic ways to create the sort of one after another setup and payoff aspect without like saying we should definitely just kill you at this point. I think some other films do, some of the other like Rube Goldbergian sequences are able to do that without teasing you with the death occurring right just then. And by the time you get to the end of this one, it's just what the ladder like
Yeah, the random one.
It's insanely fast ladder comes down on his face from a very short distance. That's me. I mean, I even within this film, I think there are other ones that are just other sequences that are more, for me, just more satisfying to see how they eventually pay off.
And even the ladder teased, right? Like it falls one
It
point
falls and
and stops, and then it lands again.
That interns having too much fun, I think.
Yes.
is my issue.
Working for
I
the
think-
credit.
I
Go
think
ahead,
this
Matt.
one actually, in terms of like, again, going back to sort of the balance of it, I think this one actually does a really good job of balancing this kind of scene with the sort of fast, shocking deaths that happen as well. Whereas I think, especially some of the later ones lean like, I think it's 4, like almost every death is like super, like drawn out
Mean.
and Rube Goldbergian and mean. And this one has at least has a few where like, yeah, this one's maybe a little bit too long, but then there's 2 in succession later in the film that are like super quick and shocking and satisfying. And there's a great mix of that in this one that I think some of the other ones lack.
Jay, you got anything on this one? I didn't want to move on
mean,
without letting you have a chance.
Yeah, this is one of my favorite deaths in the whole franchise. Is Evan. I've written a post on a site that I don't think exists anymore. It's a shame. Just celebrating this scene and every aspect, every element of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is the interns running amok and death. But the ladder and just hit them with the ladder. That's all you need to do. Don't need the magnet. Don't need the what. Just all this. But I love it all.
This is one of those
edge me
scenes-
all day.
Go ahead, Aaron.
It's less of, it's not a quickness thing. It's not like I needed to speed up or I needed to be an instant kill. It's not, and I don't necessarily think you're trying to think that I was saying that, but it's more the number of things that could result in the death that don't. It seems like it piles up so much to me. It feels like a hat on a hat on a hat on a hat. Where
Yeah, it is.
the other elaborate sequences, it doesn't feel like
Then they have the Russian doll effect.
yeah, the suspense, it's more suspense building as opposed to climax, but not quite, which is what I feel. And I'm not trying,
The
I'm like,
tantric sex.
Yeah.
and again, this is fun. Like, it's not like I'm against the notion of this being a fun thing. It's just if I'm gonna like analyze this on a podcast, I have to determine why it is that this isn't my favorite compared to other ones. So that's what it comes down to.
You're just not
That's
fun.
fair.
We're just not fun, Aaron.
I do enjoy when it's like when there's an element of karma to it, where the character does something bad and that's
Entirely
what eventually
agree.
kills them.
Yeah,
So when
entirely
he
agree.
throws the spaghetti out the window,
Yes.
like
Chekhov's
an
spaghetti.
animal, like yeah, this guy needs to die. That's what killed him.
That's just how you do it when you live in these apartment
That's
buildings.
karma. There you go. Tossing your spaghetti justifies, a ladder through your face.
Tossing your
Is this
spaghetti is one of those.
perhaps, let me be an English teacher for a minute. Is this perhaps an authentic, literal metaphor of throwing the spaghetti at the wall to see what sticks? Therefore, let's come up with many ways he could die, and it's actually none of them.
You throw a spaghetti at the floor, everything sticks.
Tossing your
I've got so
spaghetti is
many
one of the
people.
moves described
There
in
it
that
is.
tantric sex book.
Oh God, people are groaning at me. Okay. So, moving forward from there, I mean, you have this, so the pathway for this film, right? Evan goes first, and then Tim, the 15-year-old. Like, really, these guys are saying we're gonna go for the kid first. Okay. And
And
then
there's a
his mother,
pregnant lady on the list. They don't kill her, but she's on the list. Do you think are they going to kill a pregnant lady?
she's a MacGuffin though. Like she actually is
Yeah,
like, I
that
love
turns out to
Justina
be.
Machado, but she ends up being a MacGuffin.
Yeah,
But
that's
you've got
frustrating.
Nora, Tim's mother, Kat, um, Rory,
Rory.
and then you've got Eugene and Clear, who we'll get to in a minute. But um, this pathway, I think it's interesting to compare the way Evan dies with the way somebody like Tim dies and Nora die, where it's very quick, it's very shocking. Like maybe because you can't linger on something like that, I
Well,
guess.
there's a lot of cast members. That's another issue I have with the
Yes.
movie. There's a lot of people in this movie. And it's
You got to
and
keep the
like
runtime tight.
you mentioned Nora. That's the one. It's what Linda Boyd and AJ Cook, the star of the movie. They both look very similar to me. So I'm like, if I'm like half paying attention, I'm like, wait, did the star of the movie just get a pole rammed through the back of her head? And then, oh no, it's the other one. Like it feels like it's very crowded for
Yeah.
a Final Destination film. Which I get it, it's a sequel, bigger, better, go big and go home. Like I understand the logic. It just feels like there's so many people to keep track of this time around.
So I
I
will
mean, does
throw
that
out.
does that
different
does that
stuff.
matter though? Like,
We can talk about that more when we get to like I guess where we are with these movies and I guess why we rank them the way they do. But I do think, and again, I like this movie, but I do think and especially in comparison to a couple coming up, the characters matter more than I think they like. It's weird to
They
say that, like,
probably should. Yeah.
but like in certain slasher movies, I'm not necessarily like, down, I need to like understand each of these characters. I don't need to understand each of these characters in these Final Destination movies either. But at the same time, the stronger entries are ones where I'm more invested in the individual stories they have. And I do think
Agreed.
I think the first one has that. I think this one has that to a degree. And there's at least one other one that I really think has that as well.
I think Rory and Eugene are really extraneous characters. Like they're just sort of extra means to an end, I guess. Like Kat isn't very likable, but at least she sort of serves a purpose, question mark. Like she's got the snark and she works that. But I
Uh-huh.
don't know. Like Rory, I full on forget that he's in this film until I
Oh
watch it again.
no.
I'm
so
sorry, Jay.
But his flavor. He's like a different kind of
He's
character.
flavor.
yeah, he's
I mean-
seasoning. He's
Yeah,
seasoning in the
exactly.
meal.
Same with Eugene. Like Eugene's line of "My ass is alive has been all day" is a great line from this film.
Eugene, I'm just like,
Uh,
Kyle from Living Singles in this movie. I'm all for that. So like that is about it. And it is Kratos in God of War. So I'm like, okay, fine.
I like
Yeah,
the
I mean-
creepy guy on the elevator sniffing Nora's hair.
Oh
We don't
my
need
God,
that,
that
but it's
guy.
flavor.
You
It's
do
not
need
flavor I
the
don't
you do
like,
need
but
the
it's flavor.
WTF that Eugene gives him too.
I
Yeah.
agree with what Jay's saying. There are a lot of like quirky details about this movie that like make it stand out. Like it has stuff.
Yeah.
It's not it has the budget to be like, let's be big. Let's have fun with this. Let's add little stuff that, makes it feel personal in a way.
And it's
Yeah,
also
we feel-
a matter of
sorry.
like Rory's in this film, and like you're right, you could probably remove him and it wouldn't affect the plot. But he has one of the most fun deaths, I
He
think.
does.
Like just the out of the blue barbed wire fence death is so perfect in a scene where like the misdirect is that there's no delay between Kat and Rory's deaths. Like
Mhm.
Bang
uh,
bang.
it's just like, oh, she's dead. Oh, and Rory's dead. And
Mhm.
like he gets that sort of like classic movie moment of
Cat's the one
standing
with the
there
thing in her head.
whilst being sliced up and then sort of slowly falling apart. I love his death. So yeah, you're
Me
right.
too,
Like
yeah.
plot wise, you could take him out of the movie and it wouldn't matter, but you would lose a pretty great moment from the movie, if nothing
Yeah.
else.
I do like that moment when he gives his keys and his wallet to Kimberly and says, please throw away
Make sure
anything
my
that would
mom's
break
not
my
gonna
mom's
be-
heart. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
okay.
She's not going to do that. She definitely does not do that.
No,
No.
she
No.
forgets to.
No,
Definitely
even if
forgets.
she didn't forget to, no, it's not happening. Your mum's heart's getting broken. Sorry, Rory. But
Cat's
you
the one
talk
that
about
gets the thing through her head.
extraneous,
That's why
Yeah.
that's how confusing this is to me. I'm like, I don't remember which character gets a thing to their face.
and they both start with
Exactly.
K as well. Talking about extraneous elements, how do we feel about this going backwards through the
Yes,
list?
I was just going to ask that. Thank you, Jay. It's so strange.
Because the reasoning is that's why Death is working backwards, tying up all the loose ends, stealing the rift once and for all. Doesn't make any difference whether it's going forwards or backwards.
Right.
It's
Well,
still the
this
same
is
thing happening.
because they were tied to the survivors of Flight 180. So it's like if the people in 180 had all died, none of these people would have survived
I like
because
that.
I like it, but I'm glad they got rid of this idea of forced tie-ins to previous films.
I would
Right.
agree
So
with you
like
there.
you don't agree. Okay.
No, I agree. I would.
Oh,
I
I'm
agree
sorry.
with you there. I do agree with
Yeah.
you. Yes.
Like here it works. Had they tried this in the third one, I think it would have just been aggravating. Um, like I
There's
kind
too
of
many plates to keep spinning.
it's just sort of like, no, we're not here for the plot. It's like going to see Pacific Rim, and it's like, I don't care about the backstory. Just give me more robots and monsters. Like this is, we're not in Final Destination to see much of a plot, guys. We want to see the deaths. Um,
Well,
which
I
is
do
why
like
Richard is so afraid of us.
I like
Once again, we are bad people.
I like the notion of like someone had a eureka moment with a sequel, be like, well, what if Death's plan wasn't done yet? And then like I like that someone like thought of that at like midnight. It's like, guys, I got an idea. And then came, but yes, the fact that they don't like keep that going helps more than it's not. As you mentioned, Saw's already out at this point. That's the
Yes.
film that's heavily devoted to its continuity. We don't need
Much.
multiple versions of that.
I think it also there's the thing where, most of these films recognize they need to do at least something a little bit different, so it's not just exactly the same thing again.
Hmm.
And this is just different enough. Like you don't, and even but if you don't remember it, it doesn't matter. But if you do, you're like, yeah, that's a little different. That's nice. It's not just exactly the same thing again, which is a problem I have with at least one of the later entries. Where,
Oh, yes.
yeah, I'm fine. I'm fine with it. I also think it's like there's an argument to be made that like the characters are all seeing a pattern. They're like, oh, the death's going in reverse. It's different this time. But honestly, like death doesn't give a shit. Like
No!
death is just trying to kill them, and they're way overthinking it. Is also a perfectly reasonable explanation for this.
Death
It's
is
like-
trying to manage all of these chaotic interns. He's not going to say, wait a minute, let me do the reverse of this and make this more complicated.
Yeah,
My first thought was one of the interns had a good idea, which was like, hey, Kimberly's the one that has the premonitions. Let's kill her first. Let's
Mhm.
try and get rid of her, and that fails because Burke saves her. So maybe that's the only reason I can do for it. But that's I'm putting work in to get there, and it doesn't matter.
I will say, of the things that you might not expect this movie to do, because Clear is the only character that comes back, completely different. The fact that they kill her off in this one's like, oh, okay, well, we're moving on in a sense. We're not pulling our punches in that sense. It's like, yeah, we're killing on the one legacy character in this franchise at this point.
And she doesn't even get her own death.
No!
She's just killed off, just opening a door to Eugene. Okay, Death's just waiting for her to show up.
Yeah, very
That frustrates
unsatisfying.
me.
She
By
checked
the way,
involuntarily.
I did miss the brick. I wish I'd seen that.
Yeah. I can only assume that prevented the deaths of Eva, Nora, and Evan, Nora, and Tim somehow is the brick falling, and that's why they're still in this. I don't know, but yeah, I feel like that. Alex shouldn't have been killed off screen, but he didn't want to come back for this one. Probably he didn't want to be sharing a cell with Howie Larson.
What's the thing they say happened to Alex? I always forget.
A brick falls on his head.
Fell on him.
That's what you're saying. Okay, a brick falls on.
But we're missing like the whole like Rube Goldberg.
Right, we don't get to see what it was. That should have been a 30-second insert that they could have done just when they were reviewing it online.
I mean, they could have paid him for a day, come do the thing, and just move on from it. But
Well, I guarantee an offer was made of some kind or something.
Sure.
They tried to do
some sort of scheduling conflict or whatever.
It was a contract dispute, is the rumor. So like I feel like that him being killed off screen by a brick was pretty much just a screw that guy.
F you.
That's a good point. That is a good point. All right, so let's move on to Final Destination 3, which comes out. Oh,
before we move on, I just wanted to point out, if we're going to stick to the naming thing,
please.
Kimberly
Yes.
Corman, Tim and Nora
Yes.
Carpenter.
I mean, come on. How did these guys not get named in the first film?
Yeah.
Sure.
And then they
Also,
dropped that one too.
As a total side note, I don't know if you guys are aware of this as I am, living in Vancouver, but this is where the films start being like a who's who of, oh, hey, it's that Vancouver guy.
Yeah, it's very Canadian. Yes.
Yeah. Like these films, because they're all filmed here, but this is the first one where like a bunch of Canadian people
All the
have
local
fairly major
talent shows up.
roles. Like all the local talent like really shows up.
Amazing.
And so you have people like what's her name? Keegan Connor Tracy who plays Kat.
Hmm.
Um, David I can't pronounce this guy's name, but it's Pate Cow, I think, who
Paycow, yeah.
plays Evan is Canadian and from Vancouver. Like Sarah Carter's from Vancouver. Um, TC Carson's American. Who's the other one? There's no, Linda Boyd is like a famous Canadian character actress. This is one of the first ones where like it starts being like, oh, this is a Canadian franchise. So I just like to point that out.
No, totally. And it's funny because like I know David Pagcow from Flashpoint, but it's like you start watching Flashpoint, you're like, oh my God, it's the lottery winner.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, there he goes.
Yeah, then there's like Andrew R. Lee, and I think Sean Sipos is in this. So Aaron Douglas from Battlestar Galactica is in this in a very small role. Like tons of like everyone who works in Vancouver has worked in these films, and it becomes kind of fun when you're a local to be like, oh, it's that guy, and also just to be like, oh, they're at Trout Lake, oh, they're at this place. Like it's a very recognizably Vancouver film as well.
I love that. See, that's cool. See, I wouldn't recognize those because I'm over here on the East Coast, so I like that little tidbit. Okay, so moving 3 years later to Final Destination 3, and this is the roller coaster, the Devil's Flight, and this is a bunch of kids on a high school night in a amusement park. This is the film where we have Jay's favorite with Mary Elizabeth Winstead.
Oh yeah.
Um, and I don't know, how are we doing on Vancouver in this one, Matt? Doing
So
pretty well here too?
the roller coaster is called the Corkscrew. It is at Playland, our local amusement park, and I have not ridden it several times since this film came out.
I can't imagine why.
Once
There's
again,
actually
the film
new
does for amusement parks what Jaws does for the ocean, and what Final Destination 1 does for airline flight.
I'll
Yeah,
tell you, and
but
I think I
just for the
read
record though, the whole amusement park at the beginning, that is just Playland. Like that is a look like anyone who grew up in the vicinity has been to Playland. So it's pretty wild to see all these deaths at Playland.
I love that. There's this, so you have like this nod here, I think. Well, so in the beginning of House on Haunted Hill, the remake with Jeffrey Rush, like he's an amusement park guy.
Diner, yeah.
And he starts like his crazy roller coaster, which is, the Hulk coaster in Universal Studios. He has a moment where like the track comes up and like, the carts go flying off. And if memory serves correctly, I think it's one of the new Mario coasters in Universal that actually has like a weird little jumping scene where like you think a moment in the coaster where you think you're going off the track. So I can only imagine what the hell that feels like. Um, that may not do the
I watched that film yesterday. How's the
which
Hill?
oh,
How's the
I
Hill
love that
remake?
film. I
Me
love
too.
it so much, except for that ending. But anyway, that's a
Uh,
different day. But yeah, like so here we have the coaster, going off and all of the various ways that people are killed, including the very entertaining way when somebody falls and is just like clunk on the railings. Um, I don't know. Where are you guys with this particular film? Because I think this is one of the weaker entries into the franchise.
Let me jump in here quick, like, because there's something that applies to both this one and the next one that is my main reason for disappointment. And it's got nothing to do with the construction of the film. It's the circumstances under which I saw it. I was not watching it in 3D. I would have
Oh.
loved both of these films in 3D. I
This
would
one
Well,
have.
the
wasn't released in
second one, the
3D.
next one is.
Yeah, but this
Yeah.
one isn't.
Yeah,
No,
one's
this one was not.
This was not 3D. It's just called 3.
No one saw this in 3D, Richard.
It should
Not a-
be
not
in
a person.
3D. It
'Cause
should
it's
be
the
in
third
3D.
one?
I get what Richard's. I'm picking up what Richard's
I mean,
putting
that's
down.
like
I think
saying
if
the
this
log
one
truck
was,
should be in 3D. I mean, like, sure.
yeah, I think
I should
think
have.
if this one
I
was a
should
better
have.
film, though, that this wouldn't be true. But I don't think this is one of the stronger entries as well.
They're
And
missing
as
a
a
track.
result,
They're missing the shot here.
Hmm.
yeah,
The roller coaster cart flying off. That needs to be coming
Absolutely.
at you. And the fact that it isn't is really annoying.
Yeah. I think that's fair. I
yeah.
mean, maybe that was feedback from this film that made them do the next one in 3D.
No, the next one's 3D because 3D became popular. That's
Well,
what
that too.
Money.
All right, Aaron.
And it paid off because the next one makes a shit ton of money.
Absolutely. Well, the next one's good too. So
As far as this one, this is my least favorite one.
Hmm.
I when you sent me the email saying, "Hey, we're talking Final Destination," I watched all of these in 2 days because somehow, despite all the many movies sitting on my table that I should be watching,
You
I was like, "Sure,
prioritize.
let me do this," and then I ended up
Yes.
watching all of them very quickly. This is the only one that makes me sigh because I just kind of I get I don't want to say bored, but it feels like the least engaging one. I think
Hmm.
part of that's because the characters all suck. Um,
Yes, I
Yes,
agree.
yes,
I think
yes.
it's the weakest crack cast of characters, which is saying something when you watch the next one. Um,
Uh,
like I think Mary Elizabeth Winstead is out to sea here because she's like trying, and the rest of the cast just can't stack up. I think the roller coaster is a great idea, and the opening I think is effective, but the this would take so much time to do stuff. Even like the
Hmm.
finale of this thing with the subway, it's like this is taking forever. Just get to the point already. Like it's the only one that makes me just feel like I'm waiting for stuff to happen, and
Hmm.
I don't prefer it for that reason.
And it's
so
really
I
this
sad for a
is
film
remember.
that's only an hour and a half. It's not
Uh-huh.
a
I will
long film.
I will
Uh-huh.
jump in and say that I agree with basically everything Aaron is saying here. This is my, although it is my second, it's like maybe number 4 out of 5. And that's entirely because Mary Elizabeth Winstead is in it,
It's a decent
basically.
reason.
Yeah.
But there's one more that I like less than I like this one.
I'm
Same.
in the same position as Matthew. I remembered really enjoying this. Like I've just got the first three in a trilogy box set that I watched just too many times, just too many, just again and again and again when I was younger. And I remember loving this, but it's been a few years since I saw it. And watching this yesterday, it's a bummer,
It
man.
is.
It's like the characters all suck. Meredith Wood said, I love her and everything, but she is just a real downer in
Hmm.
this. She's real. It's like I get the situation. She does. Her boyfriend's just died. She's got these premonitions that people are going to die. I get it. Not a fun situation to be in. But just you're in a movie, lighten up. It's like no
Yeah.
one's having any fun, and that includes us watching it. Like the deaths aren't great either. The dialogue is terrible.
Yep.
Like, she says like, "Oh, I'm a control freak." We only know that because she told us.
Yeah.
Like, and
Yeah.
there's one kind of the sunbed sequence is
Oh,
memorable.
That's
that
a
is
fun
the
It's
that's
best.
fun.
That's one
brutal.
of the top ones in the entire
It,
franchise.
and
Really?
it has one of the best scene changes of all time when it's the
Yes,
overhead
the
shot of the
transition.
suntan's bed that transitions over to the graves of the coffins.
Yes,
Yes.
Yes.
That's fun.
as match cuts go, it's mean.
Thank you,
But
match
yeah,
cuts. Yeah, that's a good match cut.
Yeah, it's
but,
definitely one of the meanest ones. And also if if you were like 19, there's a lot of boobs in this movie too. So
That too.
sure, yeah.
Which
But
is
then you feel like you Frankie cheats. And,
it,
like, if you appreciate them, you're this guy, and this guy sucks.
what's
This guy needs
funny
to be
about
killed now.
what's funny about
true.
that because this is something I do remember from our conversation with Jeffrey Reddick, who doesn't have a connection with this movie. He was
Right.
not necessarily fired off, but like he was essentially just not connected with this anymore after the second movie. He like he wasn't necessarily adamant against having sort of like salacious material in the movies, but at the same time, it's like, well, I mean, that's not really what this is, right? And
Hmm.
he feels like this third one feels like a minor slight at him as far as well, now he's not here, we can actually throw in some boobs and stuff, and like and that's why he also doesn't really prefer this movie. He feels like it's a bit too mean and a bit too pushy about what it's trying to accomplish.
Yeah. The deaths are, I mean, again, to Richard, they're less enjoyable here. Um, I do think, like, for me, the tanning bed, I mean, I wasn't a tanning bed person ever, but you look at this and you just go, no, 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 that one's horrifying for me. Um, it's like for something about that is a little bit too intense. And I mean, even
Drinks are too big. Those drinks are too big.
well,
Like,
yes,
no,
they definitely
too
are.
big.
I don't know.
Um,
I very much enjoy when my favorite part of that whole death is when the shelf falls down and pins both of them shut.
mhm.
Like, and I don't know if you like the sort of like Looney Tunes aspect of these movies, and that's the most thing in the movie as far as I'm concerned. Um, but
It's
yeah,
like
I don't
from
know.
the Roger Rabbit cartoon right at the beginning, every crazy thing that could go
Exactly.
happen with the shelves and the knives and the drawers. Well, let's have that happen here.
Yep.
Let's have
Yeah, exactly.
the tube of lubricant or whatever the hell it is that he uses to prop the door open. Let's have that squeeze out slowly so that people can anticipate what's coming. The temperature gauge, we're going to see that move up, and is this the second or the third time that we've gotten one of those references not to exceed a certain level?
Sure.
Yeah,
Trying to remember
And
exactly.
what
like
the first one was,
uh
but
The first one was
basically becomes
the nitrous
basically
gas.
becomes a hallmark of the franchise at this point.
Mhm.
Oh yeah, water dripping on electrical sockets happens in
Yes.
every
Yeah.
film, I think.
Yeah.
I think the problem with this movie is that James Wong coming back, I think he sees what the second one does and is like, all right, I guess I'll heighten my comedic aspect of this, but I still want to make it like the first one again. And it just
I
doesn't
agree.
it doesn't balance well, right? Like I don't think his comedic sensibility is there in the way that Ellis's is. Like we'll have opinions on the fourth one, but at least it wants to be very similar to what the second one's doing. I think the third one wants to try to find that balance between, we should take this seriously, so let's have a lot of downer characters and have the movie reflect on the fact that it's sad that this is happening. Also, let's have a ridiculous tanning bed sequence. Like it's too it
It's too
doesn't know
mean.
how to it doesn't yeah, it's too mean. It doesn't know how to balance the tone of what the wackiness means for the series while also trying to like provide weight to the fact that these things are happening.
Absolutely.
It's
I think
it's
that's the best way to say it.
the
yeah, I
story
would say
twist is also, I think, a little problematic from my point of view. The idea that the pictures that they're going to be looking at are going to have clues as to how somebody's going to die. That just gets to be a little,
It's
to be honest,
clunky.
It's
it's
say
not
cheese
only
or die.
clunky, and it's also unclear. It's so
Mhm.
ambiguous that you might as well. It's like saying, oh, there was a dog in the picture, so somebody's going to get you know
Turn into a werewolf.
yeah, turn into a werewolf. Just
May as well be.
I don't
very
know. I
strange
think
things.
this just comes back to my theory that death doesn't have a design. They're just all really overthinking it.
It
But I
certainly
think
could.
that
Yes, that's for sure.
I think that, I think that Aaron's right though. This one, like, it's too mean. Like, it's the difference between the comedic sensibility of this one versus the previous one is the difference between making fun of someone and with someone. And this one is definitely doing like making fun of its characters in a way that doesn't work as well as in the second one.
I agree. And this is the one. So this is what they take a step further on this one is how many different ways we can thwart the design, right? So you have this whole setup where, Ashley and Ashlyn get killed in the tanning bed, and then you have Frankie getting killed in the drive-through. But it's like you've got Lewis with the weight machine, but now you've got Ian is saved from getting impaled in the hardware store. And then Aaron goes, and then Julie is saved by Kevin so that Perry gets impaled. And then Kevin is saved by Wendy. And then Wendy is saved accidentally by Ian, who actually wanted to kill her, but screwed that up. And then he's crushed. And then you have it ends up being too much.
It's a
It's
lot.
like,
Yeah.
yeah. And it gets this is where it needed some editing. Somebody needed to take a look at this and say, okay, there's too many of these where now it's too many of these I'm trying to pull the rug out from under you 14 different times. And it's just, no, it doesn't land.
Yeah. And then given that like there's a second premonition at the end, this is when we start getting that. Like there's a whole another film into this one. But it's such a mean premonition because it can't be stopped.
Yeah,
It's like
exactly.
after the train has moved on from the last station, the
And again,
brake doesn't work.
And
No.
it takes forever. I feel like
Right.
we're just on that
does.
train for so long.
Yeah. Oh, we're meeting her new friends and her
Especially because it's
roommate.
like it's these
Oh.
movies, right? So you're like, well, they escaped it, so obviously they can't really escape it. There has to be some other thing. And it's like, you're
Right.
not fooling me, movie. Like I get it.
Yeah.
They're on the subway, they're gonna die.
Oh,
At this point, we've
10-minute
had
scene
the-
just gonna happy ever after.
At this point, we're sitting in the theater. We've had our giant soda. We need the bathroom now. This is before Run P came around. So we need to make sure we get to the bathroom, and you got to hurry up with this train scene because people got to go.
It's fine, Lisa. This film is nothing but Run P moments. You wouldn't know anything.
That's true.
Because you don't want to spend time with these people.
No.
Not for nothing,
Yeah.
but I mean, while he has the voice in here, no Tony Todd this movie. He's not
Right.
popping up.
Another reason why it's not any good.
Yep.
Should we move on to the next one then?
Best
So-
title of the franchise.
I'm just going to point out the Canadianness of this one as well. Basically, everyone in this one is a Canadian working actor.
Everyone but Merriman and Winstead.
Yeah, and then also, and this is a true story, and I'm just going to preface it by saying I don't know this person, and my wife hasn't spoken to him in forever. But my wife went to high school with the guy who plays Frankie Cheeks.
Oh.
Okay, Sam Easton.
Yeah,
Like
sure.
authentically, or he was the alum that was sticking around?
no, like graduated the same year.
Got
And,
it.
apparently, like she was when she first saw him, she's like, "Oh, hey, it's Sam," because apparently he was like class clown, like did
Oh, that's
stand-up
fun.
comedy for like talent shows and stuff like that. So yeah, I don't
That's
know him.
cool.
I've never met him because I didn't meet my wife until I was in my 30s. But yeah, she went to high school with that guy. That's how Canadian it is.
That's
Nice.
fun.
One thing I want to say just for on this film, there is, I don't know if anyone else had the 2 disc DVD where there was a version where you can like do choose your own adventure
Yeah,
with this
yeah.
film, where you can like there's a few moments where when they're setting the thermostat in the tanning bed, you can say like go up a degree or down a degree or something, and then one of them gets out of the tanning bed but still dies.
Uh-huh.
And then my favorite one is they can beep the horn and it saves Frankie Cheeks. They beat the horn a 4th time. He turns around and go, "Oh, it's Frankie Cheeks!" And so they go and pull him out of the car and save him. And then later he then goes to a coffee shop and starts filming a random lady that he thinks is attractive. And she then comes up to the counter. I saw you were filming, and he pretends to be like a modeling scout and says, "Do you want to go back to my basement and I'll pay you $200 or something?" And she's like, "I'm a cop. You're under arrest." And his response is $400 because he's he's an idiot
Jesus.
and gets arrested. And the next time we see him is when Wendy and Kevin are leaving the police station. He's being taken in for arrest, and you never see him again. He's just arrested and I don't know, dies in prison. That's another way that
He'll be a
someone's saved in this
bloodlines.
film.
He's coming back, I'm sure.
Hey, there
I
you
like
go.
The return of Frankie Cheeks.
There's no body. He's not dead.
And with Lewis's death, there's some way that I can't remember what the change is, but they arrive seconds before he dies. So they do something else, and they get to the gym, and they walk in, and Lewis is like, and then the weights crash his head, and that sequence just gets even shorter. It's an odd. I'm glad every film doesn't do this, but it's a fun little weird oddity for DVDs.
That's why we want the
Uh,
physical media. Buy
Now I
physical
have to
media.
go and search. Damn it.
I don't know if it's on the Laserdisc version though, Richard. You'd have to
No,
get the
I'm
DVD.
sure it's not.
Ha, ha,
Although
ha,
it would have
ha,
originated there had they made this series 10 years earlier.
That's true. That's true. All right, so we move on to the final destination. I love when it's too many destinations. This is the final. Go ahead.
I laughed at this so hard. Like this is maybe why I didn't actually see it in the theaters. I just had too much fun laughing at the fact that it was called The Final Destination. It's
Yes.
just
The
like,
Last
it's so
Exorcism
amusing.
Part 2.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So
I am
this
just
comes
waiting
out.
for Final Destination Tokyo Drift. That one's going to be
Yeah.
good.
Yes. I'm telling you, that'd be good. See, what you need is for the plane to skid into the stock car track and start that going, and then the car flies off and actually is what sends off the roller coaster cars, and it just needs to be that kind of Rube Goldberg thing. That's what we need next. The Final Destination comes out another 3 years later, so we are now in 2009, and this is the one that's in 3D. David Ellis is back, much to my delight. Erica
Yay.
Bress is also back. And we get another chaotic, crazy series of deaths. This is the stock car race, which I'm going to say, as much as I struggle with the third film, I think this is the prologue death that I remember the least. Every time I go back and I watch this film, I go, oh, that's right. There was a car race film. I don't know if you guys share that experience, but it's like for some reason, this is the one that doesn't stick. I remember the bridge. I remember the roller coaster. I always forget about the race car.
I wonder
I
how
can
it's,
I can I can jump in and tell you why. I think
Hit
it's
me.
because it's bad.
Well,
Yeah.
that would be.
Sure. Yeah.
See, I just needed that help, Aaron. I appreciate you.
It's
Well,
I this is my least favorite in the whole franchise. I don't like this one at all. It is the laziest and the cheapest looking of all of them, and I don't like it. It's the only one I actually don't like.
Lazy is a good word for it.
I as far as remember like why the stock car I do wonder if like middle America, which goes to the NASCAR events and things like like I wonder if that sticks out more to the fans of the series that are in certain parts of the country. That's just not
Could be.
that's an honest question I have. Just because that'd be more a part of certain people's lives than others, where I have no interest in stock car racing whatsoever.
Me either.
I'm nothing against it either. It's just not my thing. But I do wonder if that
Well,
it's because it's an interesting place to put this scenario. And I honestly I like the Do I like it as much as the other ones? Not necessarily, but I do like the setup in that regard. Like that's something that the
I
tire
think
flies
I
off a
think that's a
track.
valid point because the context makes it more
Uh-huh.
relevant to people who are likely to have encountered that. Stock car racing is very popular. Lots of people go to that, and many of them go to see the potential
The
deaths that are
crashes.
happening,
Which
that
I
kind of
like.
thing, which
I
is a
like that
little bit of a
irony.
gruesomeness, yes.
Yes.
Uh, and look, the airplane disaster, I think everybody has those nightmares. Uh, the log truck, you're only going to have that nightmare if you're on a road behind a log truck, and that's not something that comes up frequently. People don't go out and say, let's go for a drive and find a log truck to drive behind, but people go to the racetrack, and those kinds of accidents happen. And so it's not that it stood out more to me, but the incidents that happened, the debris flying from the track, that's a nightmare scenario that I think has happened. And
Hmm.
visualizing it, I think, is the thing that works for me. Now, the thing that doesn't work for me is the whole collapse of the stadium, because that just feels like it's got little to do with the course of events. It's just it's a trap that's been set up before anything else has happened.
Hmm.
It's not really a cause and effect thing. It's a precursor kind of thing. It's a cause that exists prior to all of the other events existing. It's a contributory cause as opposed to a unique cause. And I thought that that was a little bit annoying. But, the engine and the tires and the debris taking people out, those things were all very memorable to me. The collapse of the stands, not so much.
I would agree there.
I didn't
Sure.
like any of it though. I felt
Yeah.
that like the because this one was so gratuitously in 2009 3D, every death looks bad. It just all looks bad. Like it all looks like bad. It looks like the kind of CG that film bros make fun of online to
Hmm.
me. Like
Sure.
all of
It
it.
is awful CG. It's
Like
experience
it's
ruining CG.
I'm not going to say
yeah.
it's amazing CG, but I'm not going to say awful either. I did what
Well,
I
okay, there's too much. Like the
They
premonition, the fact
I
that the premonitions are all like, "There's a snake coming out of the hospital sign."
I I
No, go
I
away.
I agree in that because we'll talk about the next one and how I think it does a better job of utilizing 3D and what have you. But what this one I appreciate, regardless of the look of it, which yes, I can agree that it's not like the best looking of the movies. I do like that it leans into the fact that it is 3D. Like it's not shy about it. It's not
Hmm.
saying like, yeah, we just added this because why not? It's designed to be a 3D fest. And if you're already watching the series to see deaths and destruction, you don't care about anything else in it, which it seems like that's all what we're saying to begin with. I'm not opposed to a movie going the next step further and saying, okay, now it's in 3D. Now
Of course.
it's literally coming out of the screen at you because we're fully saying we're a ridiculous series.
You're going to
It's not,
jerk your head back because that tire is coming right for your face too.
Absolutely.
uh-huh.
I mean maybe I would feel different if I had seen this one in a cinema in 3D. But I saw
I
it
mean,
for the
I
first time this
It was
week
terrible.
and I don't I just like nothing about it like it's not just that, but like all of the deaths look how to say this. In the previous ones, when people die, even when it's ridiculous over the top, you're like, yep, that looks like somebody died. And in this one,
Hmm.
it looks like that person's been replaced by a digital double or a bad dummy or something. Like it all looks shitty.
Right.
Pardon my language.
I
Like, it
think
doesn't
it's
look
it's a
good.
half and half ish. Like I think the pool death is very effective in this movie, especially and that's where
Yes.
the 3D really goes because it's like what the water pipe bursts and the
Yes.
blood comes out at you. Like I didn't see this movie in 3D either. I only have the Blu-ray at home, but like I could still get the idea of what they're going for just based on how they're arranging the shots. I don't
Yeah,
I
but
mean this is my second to last movie. I mean this is not very good either. I agree.
yeah.
It's and as far as reasons why these characters are also terrible in this movie. Like
Yeah, they really
this is
are.
They
really
Like
really
you don't
are,
care
really
about
yeah.
any
feels
of them.
really bottom of the barrel. And I like Michael T. Williamson, but it's like, man, this is not a good time with these people.
No, and you
But
don't remember
Just
any of their
to
names. I have to write them all down because
Remember
I'm not going
Hunt.
to come up with a single name if you ask me.
I remember Hunt because it rhymes with what his name should be. But
yeah.
that's the only one.
Hunt,
Yeah. And like
Yeah,
I would say
these
though that
deaths.
like just sticking on like the pool death, for example, like yeah, like the 3D-ness of it is kind of fun. But also like that is the laziest, most obvious, and most juvenile death in the
Yes.
entire franchise.
He's the most juvenile character.
That's
that
true,
makes
too.
sense.
It's true. Like maybe maybe the film is working because I kind of hated it. You know, like I hated that guy and I hated his death. So I don't know.
All,
But
I
like
really didn't
all
like
of
this
the
one,
deaths,
like at all.
all of the deaths are just kind of lame. Like none of the you don't care about any of
well,
these people.
hold
Some
on.
of them are just. Well, go
There's
ahead.
one guy's a ridiculous racist character, and he gets the most prolonged death out of all of them, which is I think
Accurate.
it's just the single reason why I like this movie more than 3, because it has that going for it.
True.
Yeah,
Because
that's fair.
it's not like this is more like I like sticking up for 4 just because I think it's better than 3, but it's like it's still splitting hairs. Like it's not like
Mhm.
there's a lot here that's making this one amazingly better than the previous one. It's just it has. I know people want to stick this one at the bottom generally. That's where this one generally lands, and for good reason. However, I do get bored watching 3, where this one at least has like some stuff like, yes, a horrible racist getting murdered by death very
It's very
horrifically.
satisfying.
And I'm like, well, at least it has, because
Yeah.
like he pops up and he's like being mean to Michael T. Williams. I'm like, where's this coming from? And I'm like, oh, at least I don't have to wait like the entire movie for him to die. It's like, no, they get rid of him right away. The movie's like, yeah, we get it. This guy sucks. Like, let's kill him
Yes.
right away.
Yeah.
Yeah, it ends
I
up.
guess
It ends up. Go ahead.
I was gonna say I agree with everything you're saying, except for that you just like swap 3 and 4
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
in the
which is-
ranking
yeah,
for me, right?
exactly.
Like
Yeah.
like this is the one that bored me. This is the one where like I literally had to at one point when they start like discussing the lore, I literally had to like rewind it a few minutes and be like, did I fall asleep or are they just saying what's happening? Like did like this like they
Fair.
didn't nobody figured it out. Nobody did the research. Someone was just like, yeah, it turns out death is killing us all. And like, did I miss a scene where they figure out that that's happening, or did someone just start saying like everything about this film feels super lazy to me?
Yeah, as if
And
anybody needs that. Like, and by now it's like nobody who's coming to see these films needs that explained. And it's somebody was like, no, you need the scene where somebody figures it out. It's like, no, you really don't. Just move on with it.
but then he doesn't
th-
figure it out. He just knows.
No.
Like
Yeah, exactly.
But this one
Like-
also is mercifully 10 minutes shorter than the other one, which is also
Yeah.
something it's the one that gets to the point the quickest, which I do appreciate. Like it's the one that feels like it knows what it's doing as far as people don't care about this. Now,
It
is
knows
that
how terrible it is.
Yes, is that lazy? I agree. Yes, it is lazy. At the same time, if I'm watching 3, then I'm watching 4, and in between those movies, they realize this is just a delivery mechanism for deaths. At least this one seems to understand that. Where
They're
3
three
again,
films late on that realization.
well, 3 feels like we could still try to take this seriously, and I'm like, no, please don't do that. And 4 is like, okay, let's not do that. Let's just get right to the point.
So I don't know anything about Bloodlines yet, trailer or anything, premise, whatever.
Don't
But
tell
if-
me anything, please.
No, but if like a couple of minutes after the initial death, someone's like, "We're being killed off in the same order," everyone else is like, "Sure, great, moving on." I would love that. I'm sick of watching people not believe it and be like, "No, I control my own death." I don't. No, you don't. Just get into the premise of the film and move on, please.
Right.
Please, I'm begging you.
I feel
but
like
I-
though there's gonna be something because we're talking about like what is this, a 13, 14 year
sure.
gap. So it's gonna
Oh
happen.
yeah.
It's gonna have to
Bloodlines
be
is
more.
a
I know. I'm hopeful,
Yeah.
but
Bloodlines is a
I went
legacy
into
sequel,
this-
so I assume that someone's going to say like this happened before to
Of
my
course.
grandmother or my my aunt died and death, and somebody survived and told me about death, and everyone will be like, oh, okay, cool.
There's
You know,
gonna be
it'll
a
like the
quick
scene-
Google search and that'll be it on somebody's phone. Nobody's going into the microfiche for this one.
yeah.
I assume
When
it'll
your
basically
aunt
be,
Clear Rivers told you a story, like,
Yeah. I basically assume that it'll be a rehash of something similar to the scene in, I think it's Scream 5, where one of the characters is like, we are in a legacy sequel. Like, I assume that someone will
yeah.
say
It's got to get
basically
meta.
that.
I agree. There's
Yeah.
got to be something going meta with this new one. But all right, do we need to talk about much with this one? I mean, we haven't really done much justice, but frankly, there's not much to give justice to.
I went
I mean-
into this. I've not given my thoughts much yet. But my viewing of this one, I went in thinking this is just a dog shite pile of a film, and I just remember it being terrible. And this was the first one that I rewatched for the podcast for reasons, and I enjoyed it more than I thought I remembered.
There you
I
go.
kind of
no.
liked it. It's still bottom of the pile for me. But I think some of the deaths are memorable. I like the pool death. I like the car wash near death.
Yeah,
I
that's
kind of enjoy the mechanic being cubed against the fence.
Smoosh through the fence.
It doesn't really
Where has
fit
there
into the
ever
rest
been
of
a
the
fence
sequence.
like that, by the way?
No,
Where's there
it's
been
like,
an escape, a fire escape that does that? I mean, like that's all these things.
it's but like it's a fence that's like a few inches thick, but a square. It's a weird fence, but these films
They have them in
these
Vancouver,
films.
I understand.
Yeah, I mean it's chain
Apparently.
link fence. It's a normal fence, to be
I
honest.
agree
So
that the opening sequence isn't the best, but when I do my semi-regular watching the opening sequences of Final Destination whilst I'm at work, I do still watch this one. I enjoy it. I'm never going to
yeah.
an NASCAR race, but that was
I
never going to
like
happen before this film.
I like
This
the
isn't
mall
that's
business
not a
at
reaction
the
to the
end.
film.
The mall business at the
The
end too.
escalator.
I think
Yeah,
that's
the
fun.
escalator.
The fear of the escalator. That's so legitimate. Like that's a thing people are afraid of. So it's like they could have really leaned further into that, and then it turned out to be this weird hanging off a cliff kind of thing. But I
Oh,
thought that was a good one.
I wanted the 3D movie explosion to be in 3D. I
Of
wanted to be
course.
sitting in the theater watching it. Talk about feeling meta. It's right there in the theater while you're watching it in a theater. That would have been perfect. I hate that I didn't see this in a theater.
Yep.
I mean,
That's
Sure.
my final thought on this one is that it is my least favorite, and I have a theory that it is some combination of it being having the least Canadian talent and no Tony Todd is the reason why.
Yeah, there's
Yeah,
no
no
Tony
Tony
Todd
Todd's
in
a
this at
problem.
all, which is
Yeah.
a real shame.
And so James Wong was supposed to direct this one, but had to drop out. So is it because this one tried to be serious again, or is it just bad?
It doesn't try to be serious. I mean, especially when you're
Yeah.
doing 3D for the sake of doing 3D.
That's
like,
true.
There's not a point where they're like, oh yeah, we really tried to ramp up our scripting abilities here. I think it's just a bad movie.
Yeah.
That's the issue.
Yeah.
Like it's just
When I sat down to watch it, I couldn't find my DVD. Just a real nightmare scenario. So I don't like doing this, but I scoured the internet to try and find a copy through the internet, and I found a copy, and I was like, this feels shorter than normal. This feels a bit off, and like they were blurring out any like a ton of women had a low cut top. They did like a little blurry noise when someone said the word bitch, and then like wait, wasn't
Did you find a
They-
Disney
they-
version?
well, I found a version from a foreign country that cuts out when women stick tampons in their kids' ears. That was cut out of the. And anytime there was like blood on screen, they cut out. And like this is I shouldn't. This is and I just abandoned that scenario. And the next day it was on Amazon Prime. So
Thank
hooray! This is like multiple occasions where I've searched for a film on Just Watch and it's not anywhere, and then the next day it's on Prime.
That's
Like
interesting.
this happens scarily often.
Next time I can't
Interesting.
find something, I'm going to ask you to do a search
That's-
for me.
It
How you
seems
do
like
it.
that's the
That's
key.
how you do it. But yeah, don't.
Well, I'm
Kids,
looking for
don't watch-
patterns, I got to be able to follow the pattern and make sure that it's in sequence.
It's design.
Yeah.
There's
Don't
design
watch
here.
stuff that's just streaming from countries where you don't recognize the font or the characters in the alphabet. Just don't. It's
Don't
not.
click
It's
on
not
that.
right. Yeah. Lesson learned.
All right. So moving on to our final destination film for now, anyway. Final Destination 5 in 2011 with the bridge collapse. Interesting little, I guess, Mothman prophecies throwback to that, but a little bit more chaotic. And so this one, spoiler alert, I think it's too late for that. The secret prequel film. Which I have to say, I mean, I enjoyed the hell out of that. I love that they could just make that and bring that in and just get that one last kick for all of us as we're watching it. All of us who show up just because we want to see people die in strange and absurd ways. And oops, you gave us an actual writing element that helped surprise us too.
can I start on this one?
Go for it.
This is my favorite one of the franchise.
It's so fun.
I saw this in theaters. I saw
Yep.
it in 3D. Does that add to why? Maybe, but I don't know. I've rewatched it. I've rewatched this whole series multiple times since, and it just stands out for me. I think part of it was because since the last one was called The Final Destination, I was already humored by the fact this was called Final Destination 5. And I'm like, what's it?
Would you prefer another Final Destination?
So
would that work?
I mean, I'm the kind of guy that would like to see movies called like Untitled Deadpool sequel because that's more funny to me than calling it Deadpool 2. Like this makes
Agreed.
it's just fun. So, but like I was walking into this not necessarily arms crossed, but like how good could this be? They retracted their Final Destination statement to put a number back on this one again. So like the discrepancy between me walking into this being like this will be whatever to this fucking rules is so large because I think this movie's so it does a fantastic job of being not necessarily serious, but it has just enough weight where I care about what's happening to these characters. Yet it has so many great elaborate sequences that I think deliver on themselves really, really well. And yes, it has the secret prequel thing, which I'm like, this movie doesn't cheat. It knows how to do that without like
It does it
messing around
very
with
well.
anything. It doesn't. It really knows how to get, which is I think it's a testament to how much it keeps your attention because you're not paying attention to cell phones or anything that would ruin the idea that this movie's set in 2000. Instead,
Right.
it just gets across what it needs to because it's rooted in who these people are and why you need to care or not care about them and where to go next. And it even has like a play on the franchise's whole thing where like the character that looks like an even shorter Tom Cruise is running around being like, I'm invincible and I'm going to kill other people to make sure I stay invincible. Like, it has ideas that I really, really appreciate. And
Mm-hmm.
it also has some of my favorite set pieces, like the gymnasium. Like, there's
Oh
just
my God.
this thing, like, it's the kind of one where I'm like, is this really my favorite, the fifth one of the franchise? I'm like, no, yeah, it is. It's the one I have the most fun with. It's the one I like rewatching the most. It's just this one rules for me.
It's just got it breathes life back into the
It really
franchise.
does.
It's
Yeah.
it's the new Nightmare. Like it takes what it originally was and brings it back and breathes new life into it. This is one that goes back to naming characters for horror icons, and it does it so well. We have the new director with this one. This is the one that's directed by Stephen Quayle. It's just so interesting when you get somebody new who doesn't have preconceived notions about what this should be, and then just the characters are so good. Isaac is so fantastic. He's just this complete mess of a person, and constantly womanizing and trying to womanize, even though you're not sure that he would actually have any of those abilities. It's
It's
just
the
fascinating.
supreme confidence that he has, where he's like absolutely
Yes,
not a guy that ever successful with this thing, and yet he still acts this way every single second he can.
it's
It's really,
amazing.
really funny.
Oh, this is definitely a guy who's gone to like a pickup artist seminar at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
Absolutely true.
There's another
This
Tom
one,
Cruise link.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's-
this film also has like what I consider one of the major, I think a lot of us agree with it, the LASIK eye surgery, right? The fear of that, this laser coming at you while you're conscious and aware of it. I think that's another one of the major deaths that, while
Yeah.
even though she doesn't die because of that, but that whole sequence is definitely very cringy.
it
I
is
read
madness to-
that that sequence actually caused like a slight downtick in laser
I
eye
can
surgery
I believe
that
it.
year.
Wouldn't be
I can believe
surprised.
it 100%.
Yeah, but
I
strapping somebody into that before taking their information is madness.
Yes.
I just no the paperwork. Then you strap them into the thing.
Yes, so here we have Candace with one of the most memorable deaths, the gymnast flying off the uneven bars again with like the Rube Goldberg progression, right? Of like, okay, when's this gonna happen? That screw,
On
that
the
tiny
balance
little
beam,
screw on the balance beam
that
that
created more
everyone is
tension than we
dying
had in
for.
the previous films.
And see,
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
so that's the difference I see between that and the one and two that we were talking about,
Sure.
where it's not about she could die at any sec, like she can die at any second, but like there's it's like Hitchcockian suspense because you're literally looking
Definitely.
at you have the entire time you have the object there that you know is going to play a factor, but when. Where in two, again, not a terrible death. It's just like it's an easy one to
Different.
highlight.
Yep.
It's just things coming out of nowhere all the time. So you're just being cut, like that's fun for surprise factor, but suspense always overweighs surprise, right? Because you're
I
like
agree.
you know there's something there that's going to cause a problem, but when is it going to cause the problem? And it does such a great job of literally dancing around it for a good 5 minutes before you actually have a result. It's great.
And I think again, that's why we keep showing up. It's like, yes, we're entertained by the absurd deaths, but we're also entertained by the fact that we are still 5 films in, put on the edge of our seats for something like this.
I
Yeah.
think this one, the great strength of this one is part of the great strength of the franchise. One of the great strengths of the franchise is those sequences where there are long, drawn out bits of suspense whilst waiting. You wait for something to happen, and it's drawing your eye towards something that's going to happen, and then something totally different happens. And this happens two amazing times in this film, and I think it's much stronger as a result. One is the gymnast death, and the other one is the Isaac's death,
Buddha.
which is like so drawn out, and like he should have died so many times, and then when he finally like survives, and then the Buddha falls in his head, like
We had
perfect.
Chekhov's Buddha right there.
Absolutely perfect.
Having like a little Buddha statue dripping blood is such a weird image to have in a
Yeah.
film.
The blood dripping across its smile as well, which is so good, so good. And then just
Yeah.
like little touches where I felt that the 3D was gratuitous and lazy in 4, like I would imagine, I didn't see this one in the cinema, but I would imagine the scene where um the woman like has the laser eye surgery and then falls out and lands on the ground and then her eyeball slowly rolls
Oh,
towards the
yeah.
camera would have
Yep.
been incredible in 3D.
It was good. It was pretty good.
Oh yeah.
And
Oh, yeah.
Candace falling off the bridge onto the sailboat like
Oh,
Yep,
yeah.
that
Oh,
was
yeah.
that was
Mast.
the best moment. That was incredible.
Oh,
You got a
when-
whole
when-
reaction for that.
When the other guy, what's his name, the Tom Cruise kid, Peter, when he
he's
when
not
he like
Tom Cruise, he's Peter Gallagher, if anything. Look at his eyebrows.
Yeah,
Cruise
he's
does not have those
definitely Peter
eyebrows.
Gallagher.
he's a
He's
mix of the
50%
two.
eyebrow.
He's a mix of the two. He's
You just call him Peter Cruz, it's fine.
because he's so
Peter
short.
Cruise.
That's the other thing. He's so tiny. Peter Gallagher's a good he's a good 6.
He's also
Eyebrows
a House
for
North Hill.
sure.
Regardless, he gets impaled on the bridge, one leg right under his eye, which looks great. And then not
Oh,
only that,
God, that eye.
when he falls down, he doesn't just fall into the water. He hits the little side of the bridge
Yeah,
first,
splat.
then falls in the water. That's the best kind of thing. Oh my god! Like the whole bridge sequence is wonderful. I really like the bridge a lot.
It
I
is a
think it's
good one.
really, really good.
Yeah.
David
When,
Koechner
when
with
David
the tar.
Koechner, the tar.
Yeah.
Oh my god!
I think the
Yeah.
difference
I
here
love Dave Koechner in this.
Yeah, I think the difference here is that compared to 4, for me at least, is that where 4 feels lazy at every turn, this one just doesn't. You know,
Oh yeah, it feels
Like the-
invigorated.
it feels invigorated. It looks better. Like I don't know exactly what the filming difference is, other than apparently this one was shot in native 3D, not post-converted like the last
Mhm.
one.
Uh-huh.
But like just the cinematography is better. Every scene doesn't feel like the first take, like the actors are invested, you know? And the deaths look, again, they're all fantastic and ridiculous, but they all feel visceral in a way. They don't feel like a poorly drawn sketch. They feel like real and you're invested in more of the characters, so they actually have meaning. And then just remembers to be fun at the same time. So
This one
that's-
doesn't feel
that's
like
the
a
thing,
paycheck.
yeah.
This one feels like people who love the franchise are like, I get to be in a Final Destination movie. I get to write a Final Destination movie. I get to direct one. This is cool. Let's have fun with it. You know, that's what this
Yeah.
feels like.
The talent
Like the-
involved, I think, matter. Like Stephen Quayle is a second unit guy for James Cameron. He knows how to do work. Like if you're working for James
Yeah.
Cameron, you know to work.
Yep.
And it's written by Eric Heisinger, who wrote Arrival. Like it's a guy that he's a good writer. Like
He's a
it
good
has
guy.
pe-
Yeah.
it's
And
just people
the
that seem to-
cast is better as well.
Oh
Like,
yeah,
the-
for sure. This
in-
is
in-
the characters rock in this movie.
Yeah.
I like
So
this a lot.
the Final Destination has one like proper actor in terms of Michael T. Williamson, but he's playing a real downer of a character. This guy's just been trying to kill himself all day. I don't want to spend time with you. Whereas this one, the like proper actor we have is David Koechner, who's playing a scumbag, and he's
Oh,
great.
but
at
also,
that.
but
but the rest of
also-
the cast are good actors as well.
I was going to say,
sorry.
like Courtney B. Vance is in this movie.
Courtney
Yes.
Vance, yeah.
Yes.
You know,
I-
like there's
I-
lots of great people in this one.
I like D'Agostino as the lead. I like him. I've seen him in plenty of things at this point. Emma Bell, like there's people in the PJ Byrne is Isaac. Like he plays
Yeah,
these
he's
kind of
great.
annoying characters, but he works.
Aaron, did you see this in IMAX or did you just see this in a standard theater?
It's just no, it was a standard theater for sure. I saw it.
Okay.
I know where I saw it because I saw it at Universal City Walk of all places. But and they have large theaters there, but it wasn't IMAX. It was just
Okay, because this is the first one that was released in an IMAX format, but I can't watch
Uh-huh.
IMAX, so I was curious to know if you saw it in that level, because I can only imagine what that's like,
It was nice. Again,
especially with the bridge.
having never seen these on the big screen until this one, I was certainly like, well, this makes a difference.
Mhm.
Watching it this way,
Yes.
for sure, because you're really invested in the kind of the terror of it all.
I'm really interested to see what this next one is going to be like, as I was just talking, literally just saying this the other day to my students, that there are very, very few moments where you have these whole packed theater, everybody reacting at the same time, sort of social experience. I'm wondering what it's going to be like seeing this one with much fewer audiences, like fewer people, at least in my area, because, you know, I'm not in a major metropolitan area, so I'm not seeing films with packed theaters typically anymore. Where I think that's what made at least Final Destination 2 so entertaining, because you have everybody reacting at the same time.
Well, the idea
Yeah,
was that people are
there's
drawn in to see this one because it is a Final Destination movie and you haven't had one in a while. But
I
we'll
hope
see.
so.
yeah,
Or I'll
there's
just
something
be
to
the
be
only
said for
weirdo
that.
laughing and like I usually am.
We could wish it to
There's
do as well as Minecraft, but I doubt that it'll
Wow,
live
right?
up to that. What the hell?
All
Yeah,
right.
there's something to be said for that communal experience when a film
Definitely.
like it's annoying when people talk, but when the whole crowd is into it and reacting, that's a very special experience, right?
Yeah.
I feel like if this film, I didn't see it in cinemas, but I feel like this film could have generated that. I hope that the next one does.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I just want these films to be fun and not lazy, and this
Yeah,
one meets that
I agree.
requirement. And
I'm
again,
optimistic for
and
this one.
in 5, Tony Todd is back, and
Yep.
also there's a bunch of Canadian actors in the side roles. So, like,
There are,
again, this
yeah.
bears my theory out that those are the two keys to a good Final Destination film.
Have you looked
There's
at the cast list? If you would mind not giving me details, have you looked at the cast list for the new one, and is it also a Canadian cast?
So I haven't looked, but
there
if
are.
you'll stall for a minute, I will
I've,
look.
I've looked through. It's at least half and half at this point.
Nice. Okay.
Reynolds, Celine
Oh yeah, it
Dion.
looks like the
The
lead.
two leads are
uh,
definitely Canadian.
Okay. All right. So,
Yep.
because I'm on blackout. Like I know nothing. I don't know a single thing about this film
Same.
except the date. So, which is the
Oh
way
yeah,
I like to
actually,
do it.
looks like the two of the three leads plus a whole bunch of the supporting characters are Canadian. So yeah,
All right. So
that's
we're in
they.
for a potential
We're
good
back to
ride here.
Canada. There you go.
Okay.
Just-
I
yeah,
like
just-
this.
Just to emphasize before we move on from this movie, the fact that it is this prequel thing really is great.
It's so good.
It's such a fun surprise where you get like because you get to the end of this movie, you're like, all right, so we got through all the main stuff. Now we're gonna get to the requisite everyone still dies anyway kind of thing, and you're
Right.
like, what's that gonna be? And again, the movie has not cheated. It says the whole time like he wants to go to Paris, he wants to do this and that, he wants to be a chef. It's not it's not saying that it's 2000. It's not saying anything. So you get on this plane and you're like, what's going on over there? It's fucking Devon Sawa. What's going on? It's such a fun like surprise.
It's
that
so
earns
It is.
itself.
well hidden. It's great. It's so well hidden. And you're right. I love that element. Like that's what you look for in a kicker kind of ending. Like it's all there. The clues are there, but
Uh-huh.
you have never actually put any of that into the bank to really think about it. And that's my favorite kind of thing. That pure joy of a surprise that you never saw coming.
But Tony Todd still says like he's seen this before.
Because he's
So
seen it
how many of
before.
these have been? How many?
Exactly.
Oh,
I'll just wait till Bloodlines is set in 1984.
oh, great. And
Flashbacks.
there's no other than the first one. There's no other premonitions in this one, and I don't miss them. There's no
No, I
like
don't miss them
individual
either.
death.
Yeah.
Like, Olivia's going to be killed by eyes. There's
Well,
none of
this
that.
one,
It's
the
just
new
like,
thing-
whatever they're doing right now, that's what's going to kill them. Whatever
With
they
this
are,
film,
that's what's going to.
the new edge is you get the leftover life.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah, I thought that was clever actually.
Yeah.
Like if you're gonna upgrade and change the lore, like kill someone to take their remaining days. That's a nice touch. And then
Because it adds
the
a
nice
human
little-
villain to it, which is kind of interesting, like to have
Right.
something else on the side of everything.
well, and then
You
at
gotta
the end
assume-
when it turns out that like
And you still get
you know,
screwed.
you still get screwed because like that guy had a brain aneurysm. Like that's a nice little like chef's kiss moment onto
Yep.
the meanness,
You
the
couldn't
fun
escape.
version of the meanness of these films.
Oh,
So you
and
got to
you get
assume
a-
that like
you get a
Courtney B.
greatest
Vance
hits.
and Emma and Molly were both going to be killed during the investigation into the bridge collapse somehow because they both die as well. So they
On the
didn't have
flight.
much time left either.
You get the greatest hits aspect too, because like by the end, you get like the guy dies in the bar, and then it's like, let's show you all the highlights of the other films. And it's like
Every single death. Let's go.
This is so much fun.
Yeah, I did enjoy the hell out of that. The credits too.
Well, since you
Okay.
mentioned it, that'll go in the video, by the way.
Oh, good.
Oh,
And,
that credits highlight.
yeah.
Nice.
We'll see if I get a copyright flag on it, but I have every intention of including it.
Well, just
Good.
like
What do I know?
phase a video of you dancing in front of it, so it's like it's a mix of two things. So it can't just be like one.
That's it.
Specifically that you dancing.
Nobody wants to see that. That'll be Final Destination 7, the death of good taste.
Hey. All right. So, hey, I appreciate you guys, chatting with me. I think anything that we need to say about the franchise in general that we haven't had a chance to put out there.
I like them.
I also
good.
like them.
I like the films.
I also do.
Uh,
I think people wonder like why are there not more or whatnot, is because honestly these movies became more and more expensive. And it's
True.
like
Sure.
and like the 3D helped because like yeah, that means like a bigger foreign audience comes in because foreign audiences seem to just like 3D. But like yeah, when if a slasher movie costs 10 million at most and this movie costs 40, you really need to make sure your return on investment is going to work out. And I think they just couldn't figure that out for a while. But I'm glad we're coming back. I'm glad we finally have a new one coming. So.
I feel
I'm
like
so
there's
excited.
not a lot of chance for these films to make a dent like pop culture wise. Yes, we have the log truck, but because there's no killer, there's no like returning cast members.
Mhm.
There's no like
It's hard to
merchandise
dress
you can
up at
sell.
Halloween
There's
as a log.
yeah. I'm a puddle that recedes. What like there's you can dress as Tony Todd, but he's just dressed in a coroner uniform. Like, there's not you can like I just go around holding a pair of pliers with a nipple ring in them. Like, I'm the guy from Final Station 2. Like there's not a
That's
lot
before
of
you get dressed up.
exactly. There's not a lot of cultural impact.
Unless you have the special effects makeup skills, you're going to be in trouble. You could do those.
Should we just go around with a spanner bedded into your eyes? Like I'm Dave Keckner
Yeah,
from
exactly.
It is why it makes it a unique series, right? Because there isn't a lot of like staple type stuff that you can like point a finger to. It's just more situational based
Mhm.
that doesn't lend itself to merchandising in the same sort of way. So yeah, the log literally is like the biggest pop culture thing it has because everyone seems to recognize that specific sequence. But
They had the John
otherwise,
Denver song in the first two, but
Yes.
yeah, and
they
then they kind of ditched
transitioned to
that.
the others after
Yeah,
that.
It does make
There's
me
someone
wonder if
walking
maybe
behind
maybe someone should make a board game where you have to construct a Rube Goldberg device,
isn't
like
that
Mousetrap.
like Mousetrap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I have a friend who teaches science, and she actually has her kids do a Rube Goldberg practice project every year. So I can only imagine.
Does
What's
the
the
frog
body
end
count
up
on that
open
class?
at the end?
I have to find out. We have to have her on as a guest.
We're going to take a quick break here to hear from a fellow Lamb Podcasting Network show, and then we'll be back with the exit question of the week.
Hey Jay, can I ask you a question?
Sure, Mark. Far away.
How come Carter's always sliding around in Deep Blue Sea?
Well,
And how come Preacher has a bird in the kitchen?
I think
Should Janice have won an Oscar for all that exposition?
yeah. I
Who
mean,
did the sharks hate the most?
if-
How far did Jim travel underwater?
about
Why do they keep calling Brenda Tower?
Mark, please. We've already covered all of these topics and many, many more on Deep Blue Sea, the podcast.
You mean the podcast where we analyze Rennie Harlan's 1999 masterpiece, Deep Blue Sea, chapter by chapter?
Exactly. Find it everywhere podcasts can be found.
All right. So the question for the episode, because, I have to throw random thinking kinds of questions out at you. If you were going to be, well, you are, tough luck, here you go. We're all going to be in a Final Destination film. We'll show up in Final Destination 7, The Death of the Lambcast. And you are not going to survive. I am pulling that immediately. So what is the strange, surprising, absurd way that you die? Does anybody want to go first?
Well, nobody
that.
wants to go first.
I'll go.
I mean,
Somebody
I'll
has
go,
to go
Drive in
first.
first.
I'll be
I'll
the
go
first to be
first.
killed.
I
That's
can be
fine.
first because my favorite way to go is the surprising way. So I work in an office, which I know is a weird thing for 2025, but so chances are I would die after the inciting incident. I would be the one that dies by like going to work and then going on his lunch break and walking past the construction. There's lots of big machines outside my building right now. There's a big hole in the ground where they're fixing a water main. And I would walk past that, and it would probably there'd be some water on the ground, and there'd be some debris around. And I'd go in and I'd get my coffee, and I'd come out and I would trip over probably like a chain or something that's on the ground because a construction worker dropped it, or maybe there's some fuel on the ground and someone's dropped a cigarette, that kind of thing. And this would go on for several minutes as I, deftly but absent-mindedly navigate the entire construction.
You're Mr. Magooing it.
Yeah, Mr. Magooing my way through it. And then as soon as I get back within like a block of my office, I go to cross the street and I get hit by a bus.
Classic. So I credit these films to making me a more careful person. Just because like most of these deaths seem to be caused by like negligence or poor maintenance.
Mhm.
And so I just in general try to make sure everything in my life is a little safer. I don't have, I don't know, a towel hanging off of a knife block just in general.
Hmm.
But the only area of my life that's not applied is my bike. I cycle a lot, and I treat my bicycle like it's an abusive relationship. I am a terrible bike owner, so I feel like that's going to be tied in somewhere. Where I'm doing some kind of maintenance on my bike. This is all gonna be kicked off by a dog. One of my dogs is gonna
Oh,
like
totally.
walk past accidentally. I hope that one of my dogs is gonna like walk past something and it's gonna like start a gear spinning or whatever. And like an inner tube's gonna get caught in a chain, somehow wrapped around my neck, strangling me in some way. But I get out of all that. Like, there's gonna be all loads of shots, close-up shots of like a pedal spinning and a bicycle helmet falling and just missing me, all these kinds of things. And then it's going to be something really innocuous. In the same way, like a bus hit me, it's going to be like, oh, a giant water bottle falls off and hits me on the head or something. But it's going to be bicycle related in some way, is all
Makes
I can
sense.
assume. Because my bike
sense.
is terrible.
I think your fingers
but
have to come off in the gears at some point.
quite possibly. Again, yeah, it's how it hurts when that happens. Not recommended.
I wrote one down here. Let's see. Leaning back too much in my chair near a balcony, it tips over and I fall off the balcony onto a trampoline, launching me further over a nest of snakes, a pit of beehives, and a pit of snakes with beehives in their mouths, only to land comfortably on a discarded mattress near a tree, but the mattress is actually soaked in gasoline, and it's an especially windy day, so the branches from that tree keep rubbing together, creating a spark cinder that floats down onto the mattress, setting me on fire.
Oh my God. That's amazing.
Yeah, that works.
I love it.
Well, I tried to come up with a scenario where Gene Simmons is being elevated during the show and his base, which is shaped like an axe, falls down and splits me in half, but I couldn't figure out how to set that up. So I went with the most likely thing. Uh, I basically am chasing my dog who's after a squirrel and has gotten away from me. And I run across the street and near-death experience with a car. It misses me, thank goodness. I duck below a low branch which has a sharp, pointy branch sticking out of it, and I missed that by a hair's breadth, uh, impaling myself on that protrusion. I nearly step on a yard rake, which of course would produce all kinds of comic effects, and I
Mhm.
misstep while trying to avoid dog poop, stumble, and I get impaled on a sprinkler head.
Oh, it's
Personally,
funny that you.
Rich is being decapitated by a laser disc. We all know this is what's going to happen.
There you go. That's what's going to happen.
You know what's funny? I thought he was going to get squashed by a speaker at a Kiss concert. So I like that I was at least in the wheelhouse there, Richard.
I was thinking about it.
The kiss of death.
There you go. That's it.
See, I like what you did there. So for me, anyway, I kept trying to come up with something. My focus was how, Bradley Whitford dies in the cabin in the woods, and he's got like that, oh, come on moment. And so mine is absolutely going to be some kind of an, oh, come on moment where I'm going to die by something that, I inadvertently torment other people with. So I am definitely going to die by air conditioning in some way, because I freeze out far too many people for my preference for cold. So I figured, I've got air conditioners in my classroom. So I figured it's going to be one of my Charlie Day moments where I'm like pointing out things and kind of flailing around, and somehow I'm going to trip, and I'm going to, trip over the rug that I have near the bookshelves. The rickety bookshelf that I'm always telling my kids they have to be careful of is absolutely going to fall on me. Fun point that this bookshelf has actually come at me before, and I broke my foot for it because one of the shelves fell off and landed on my foot, and it was broken for a week before I realized it.
Wow.
And I'm gonna, and I'm gonna, I'll trip and I'll end up, falling over with the air conditioner, either like blowing some of that, coolant on me, and somehow I'm gonna drown in the coolant, or I'm gonna fall, the air conditioner is gonna fall out the window. And as I'm trying to save the air conditioner, I am going to follow it and fall out of my third floor window. And so it's going to be one of those chaos things. And then the bell is going to ring. All of the students are going to get up and leave the class like nothing has happened.
Well, I like the idea you grabbing for the air conditioner just out automatically. Oh, let me stop that from happening.
I have to save it.
You grab the cord and it yanks you out the window. I've got that in my head right there.
Yep, absolutely.
And then the bell rings and all the students get up and leave.
They all just leave because they got to go to the next class.
That's a good image. That's a good image.
So anyway, hey, thank you, Richard, for giving me the opportunity to finally host the Final Destination movie of the month. And thank you guys for coming and hanging out and chatting with me. I love chatting about films that we're all nerds for. So this was cool.
Great.
Well,
Richard,
thank you for
how many votes did it win by, out of interest?
Oh, it was at one point it was nearly double. It had
Interesting.
50%. Let me
Oh,
just quickly look
Oh,
at it.
that's odd. Okay.
that's odd.
We got a last minute surge of bad boy votes.
Somebody was advertising.
And now suddenly I need to know. You asked the
I'm sorry.
question. Of course, that's okay. It's perfectly fine.
Well, we need to
Uh,
drag this episode out to be 180 minutes long.
It ended up with 44% of the vote.
All right.
So
Okay.
at one point it was above 50%, but like I said, at the last minute, I think I got 6 bad boy votes the last 2 days. It all came out.
Yeah.
Lisa, thank you very much for hosting the show. But I do want to give everybody a chance to talk about stuff that they've got going. So
Oh, yes, totally.
let's make sure we do our plugs and promos here. Jay, what's coming up on Deep Blue Sea Part 2 review, repeat?
Yes. Deep Blue Sea, the podcast. We're doing our second dive, too deep, too blue, too sea. Second dive through the chapter by chapter of Deep Blue Sea. This week will actually be a celebration of the Sharknado franchise. We've done all of the Sharknado films individually, but I wanted to have everyone who helped me talk about those films back. So there'll be one familiar voice from this episode and some other familiar voices from previous episodes of the Lambcast joining to talk about the Sharknado films. And of course, come back on the week on like the 7th of May, I think, to hear Lisa and I and my co-host Markov, my friend of the show, talk more about the Final Station franchise, specifically focusing on how wet each of the films are, which a very specific but very entertaining conversation. I've already edited it. It's one of my most fun episodes to edit recently. And you can, Aaron's been on recently, Matthew was on recently, Lisa is on soon. Richard, not had you on for a while, so we need to change that. We'll have to have you back again soon. If only there was some kind of shark film celebration anniversary coming up soon.
Some 50th anniversary thing that's happening. Yeah.
Oh, is there? Huh. I don't think I've seen that one.
Who knows? Who knows?
Orca. Yes.
Yeah. Deeply to the podcast. Check it out. And lifeversusfilm.com is my personal site where I'm reviewing specifically my Spielberg and David Lynch blind spots at the moment. So go have a read over there.
Excellent. Aaron, I know that there are guys watching Godzilla movies. What else is going on?
I am, of course, the host of a couple podcasts. One is Out Now with Aaron and Abe. My friend Abe and I talk about weekly movie releases and do other fun bonus stuff on occasion as well. I am a writer for We Live Entertainment. You can find all my movie reviews over there and Criterion and Blu-ray reviews over at Why So Blue. And I'm on all those socials at Aaron's PS4. But of course, yes, I do have the podcast Two Black Guys Talk Godzilla, a bi-weekly podcast where friend and film critic Terrence Johnson and I go over the Godzilla films in order. I'm a huge Godzilla fan. He is Godzilla curious. And this has been a lot of fun. What's really fun, we're only 3 episodes in now. Well, we've recorded a few more than that, but since we started publishing, we started getting iTunes reviews and everything. And it, not only is it fun to, or nice to just, see positive response or whatnot, but there are people, and even people have told me they're following along. They're like watching the movies to prepare for the episodes, which is really cool. It's a really cool thing to have going. So Two Black Guys Talk Godzilla, everywhere you can find podcasts.
Matthew, I don't know if you've been talking Godzilla, but I know that you've got things that you could share with us.
Yeah, so I write freelance for a number of different places, including exclaim.ca and thatshelf.com and movies we texted about and for real, like lots of places. So the easiest way to find all of those links is to go to one of 2 places. One is my personal portfolio website, which is stretched.ca, or my Patreon, which is patreon.com/mcsimpson. I'm also my personal podcast, Awesome Friday, in which we reviewed 2 new films every week. It's still on hiatus, but I'm actually joining the ContraZoom podcast now as a regular co-host, starting this week. So my first episode is I've been on that show a lot, but I'm actually a co-host now, so that's starting this week. And then there's other stuff I'd like to talk about, but instead I'm going to highlight once again that me and a couple of friends and colleagues here in Vancouver and Seattle formed a new critics association last year called the Cascadia Film and Television Critics Association. Cool. We're up over 20 plus members now in the Pacific Northwest region of BC, Canada, and Washington and Oregon states in the US. And you can find just a ton of great writing and podcasting, and we have an award slate and a top 10 every year. You can find all of that at cascadiacritics.com.
Will we be invited to the banquet room at the awards next year?
Honestly, not this year because we're not going to have that much money. But when we get to that point, of course.
Excellent. And Lisa, I know that you have lots of things that you do over at the Rabbit Hole. So what do you want to talk about?
Yeah, I have a couple of things there. The one that you can catch me on most reliably is Pictures and Conversations, a Rabbit Hole podcast book club. And our next episode is on Rebecca Yaros's Fourth Wing, which is a series, well, it's the first in a series of fantasy titles that comes out on April 20th. And then we are talking about Chuck Wendig's Black River Orchard for May 20th. We come out the 20th of every month. I also, tend to show up on random little podcasts. Jason Soto and I are coming together for the first time ever. We've never done horror podcasts together before, and we're doing a version of something he calls Fit for a King. We have looked at Dance Macabre and On Writing and basically a bunch of Stephen King references where he has recommended a number of different horror films. So our first episode for that new series is on The Birds, and that will be coming out, I think, this week. But you can catch me there. And, I'm still making a career of being on other people's podcasts. So you never know where I might show up.
Well, I know that one of the places that you'll show up regularly is here. So I'm always happy to have you. And thank
And
you
I
again.
like being here. So thank you for always having me back.
Always, always. On my own site, of course, as usual, I'm just covering the things that I see in the theater. I saw a couple of films I need to catch up with. Reviews Ash, which is a science fiction film that came out and went almost nowhere. It's a combination of The Thing, Alien, and Solaris. So it was
And
an
many,
interesting.
many video games that.
Yeah, yeah. It was an interesting hour and a half. It was perfectly fine, but not really something that's going to last very long in my head. And I did see Warfare yesterday, and that's an interesting project. It will force you to think your perspective about war in a different way. It's not political in any way. It's just is very visceral and in your face about what goes on, and it could be a little traumatic for people. It's like, let's do 2 hours of the first half hour of Saving Private Ryan, only we're going to do it with a smaller cast and a lot more intensity in some situations. There's a lot of screaming. It's a little bit tough. So, and of course, we're getting ready for Turner Classic Movie Film Festival, which I will cover on my site as I go through it. I have 14 films that I plan to see. Of course, the best laid plans never happen. What's the old joke? You want
You
to
make
hear
plans and God laughs.
God laughs. That's it. So we'll see how it all comes out. But I'll have a return to my native Southern California in a couple of weeks and have lots of reviews for you then about
Oh.
classic films. I am going to get to see 2001: A Space Odyssey with Keir Dullea as the guest at the end of
Oh,
the
cool.
movie. So I'm looking forward to that quite a bit.
Black Christmas's Keir Dullea is going to be there.
Yeah, there you go. That's it. That's it. So we've got that kind of thing coming up. All right. Well, once again, I want to thank everybody for enduring an additional series of films where people die in strange and mysterious ways. I think in the future, maybe next year, Lisa, you sponsor the Omen series, which is basically the same
Ooh.
kind of stories, but with more supernatural devil stuff that
I
go
do like
along
I
them.
haven't
with it.
seen any. I've seen none of them.
Really? Oh, that's
Not
cool.
one.
There you go. So
All right,
you
there's my new one.
I've planted a seed. I've planted a seed. Let's see if it comes to fruition 100 or
Yes, sir.
365 days from now. Thanks, everybody, and we'll catch you next time. I'll see you soon.
You've been listening to the Lambcast. If you have an idea for a show or would like to join us on the Lambcast, contact us at largeassmovieblogs.com.
Find us on Facebook, just search for Lambcast, or on X, formerly Twitter, at Lambcast. And you can find us on YouTube as well. The Lamb site can be found at largeassmovieblogs.com. We'd also love it if you would leave a review on iTunes.
Ha